It's Saturday morning, everybody, and good morning. Saturday, October 4, 2025. I'm Peter Boyles. It's the morning show here on 710 KNUS. 303-696-1971 is the phone number. The weather, 710 KNUS Weather Center. Weather, 80, the high, and a few showers. I rode my motorcycle in, and it got a little wet coming in early this morning, about 5:30. 69 on Sunday, rain a little bit in and out, and Monday, 65 degrees. It's good to have everybody here. Coming up at 11 o'clock, last Sunday was the MC1 Honor Run, and raised a lot of money, and it was just a spectacular day and great day to ride, and to get together was wonderful. But as always, one or two of the recipients would get up on the stage with us and talk. And up on the stage came Larimer County Deputy Sheriff Jason Hart. And Jason Hart is the lead instructor for motorcycling for the department. And I knew that he had been a recipient, and he had been shot on March the 10th, 2025, by a .44 caliber. And he was shot, March the 10th, 2025. And he talked. And he gave this, and all I could tell was this, it was stand-up. And it was so, how funny is it to get shot, right? Well, it's not funny at all. But he was able to, and it was a crowd full of first responders and firefighters, paramedics, cops, supporters, everybody that's there, Frank DeAngelis, everybody that was there, Mark Miller, and he rolls the house. And so he's coming off the stage, and I was emceeing it. And I said, Deputy, can we talk for a second? And he said, sure. I said, would you come on the radio show and talk about when you were shot? And he looks at me, and I said, no, seriously. Just what you did here, today, will you do it? And he went, well, sure. So at 11 o'clock this morning, Larimer County Deputy Jason Hart will be with us, and hang on to your hats. Also, something that I've also been working on is personal safety. And in spite of the nonsense that this city is being manufactured to lie about, do you feel safe? And remember Ronald Reagan, and I stole it from Ronald Reagan. Remember when Ronald Reagan said, do you feel, I stole it into do you feel, but Reagan said, are you better off? That's what he said. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And the answer, of course, was no, you were not better off. And that's, of course, one of the ways Ronald Reagan wins. It's a great question. So I took it and twisted it. Do you feel safer today than you did 4 years ago? And such things as, and I looked at a lot of polling data for the last couple of days, 40%, this is significant, are afraid to walk alone at night near their home. 40% of us. They're worried about being victimized by specific crimes, and fear of crime stops a lot of Americans from doing routine activities. But it is true. Do you feel safer? And I certainly, you talk to yourself and say, do you feel safer? We'll do all of that in open lines. But as we were tagging out with John Caldera, Payola came up. And it's one of those passions in an industry that I love, the radio business. And I was never around any of it. But my mentor was the late, great Bob Lee from Detroit, the rock and rebel WJBK Detroit. Alan Freed stopped his career. All of these different people that were caught up in what was called Payola. Now, this is when I'm a kid listening to Top 40 radio, and Payola is this, or was this, and I guess it could say still is, this practice of a person or an entity providing money, services, or other consideration to a broadcaster, or I guess now they use the term influencer, for the promotion of a particular record. And the old man would tell me stories, and he never admitted any of this, but Alan Freed, we worked for a guy named Bill Ashford, and Billy was our music director. Music directors became part of the radio business after Payola Pluggle, and we'll trying to explain the difference between the two. And he had a plaque on his wall, and it said, "Alan Freed died for your sins," and it was on Billy's wall. And Billy's gone now, but God, he was great. He was one of those guys that would, as a rookie, this guy's teaching me, and of course the old man taught me, and all of these guys. And so how it worked, according to Bob, and according to everything I read, and according to reading Alan Freed's life, the record label, there were guys, and there's a term for them, and they were called record pimps or record hypes. And most of them were fronts for organized crime because crime controlled a lot of the labels. And you would go to a guy that's a very, popular jock, especially at the afternoon drive, kids are out of school, that kind of thing. And they'd say, hey, and Bob told me the story. He'd say, give me your car keys. And you would, when the top of your shift, like whatever it was, 3 to 7, which is the prime top 40 time, because or even before school, but after school. And you threw the guy your car keys. And when your shift was over, your car was back. And Bob said, 4 new tires, a nice coat for your wife in the back seat, or tickets for something. Opened up the ashtray, there was cash in the ashtray. All kinds of different ways they would get clothes or trips or just cash. And on the front seat, on the passenger side, would be 2 or 3 records. Play them. And there was no disc jockeys chose their own music, although you had to stay within the formatics of the tunes, top 40 music. And it went through Motown, it went through everybody, and Chess Records. And there's a really interesting film out that I've seen a couple of times entitled Cadillac Records. And they kind of dodge and duck a little bit of that, but Cadillac Records is a good film. There's a great book called Hitmen that's about this, but all the Alan Freed scandals, and Alan Freed, we were talking to John Caldera, Alan Freed started in Cleveland. He was the Moondog, and he stole the term rock and roll. And Brother Jeff and I talked about this. Everything I've read suggested that the term rock and roll was African American slang for having sex, rock and roll. And so Alan Freed picked it up, and it became rock and roll. And there's a reason why the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland. Alan Freed was in Cleveland, and if you ever hear Huey Lewis in the News, another one of my faves, when they say the heart of rock and roll is still beating, and the voice in the background says, in Cleveland. And it's real inside. So Freed goes to New York and gets jammed up with the cops and gets in all kinds of trouble. But he's Alan Freed. And he's a drinker, a lot of the old timers. And it ended Alan Freed. Dick Clark, on the other hand, survives. And there's great stories about how Dick Clark survives the scandals. And it was the same thing was true when UAC began. And remember that these are running almost parallel lives. And when UAC hits with McCarthyism, and they're weeding through Hollywood, they're witch hunting Hollywood. And we've talked about this story before, but Lucille Ball, her grandfather was a Trotskyist and used to take her to the Socialist Workers' Party meetings with her when she was a young woman. And so now the time comes when they realize that the #1 television show in America is I Love Lucy. Ricky and Lucy. So that famous moment when Desi Arnaz comes forward and says the only thing red about Lucy is her hair, and she got away. And I mean, I'm glad she got away. Don't misunderstand me, but she was clearly involved in the Trotskyist movement. I mean, they were out of, well, the Trotskyists were a little bit different than the CP. The CP was a Stalinist organization. Of course, Stalin had Trotsky murdered in Mexico City, but so they hated the Trotskyists, but she was. And so the hunt was on. And then remember the comic book scandals? Of course, it's only about reading about it now. But so the radio station I grew up on was WAMO, and it was what we used to call a black station, and WAMO in Pittsburgh, right on the other end of the bridge. And I always thought, what did I know about anything? But the afternoon jock, when we got out of school, was a white guy named Porky Chadwick, the daddy-o of the radio, the boss hoss, the platter pushing papa, your blonde wonder with your record thunder, And the late Bob Brusco and I, we had the first party. We had a Pittsburgh reunion party. We brought Porky out here, and Uncle Moose and Buckets and everybody. And there's stories never to be told about Porky's trip west. So the mid-morning guy was a black guy who his on-air, his moniker, his professional name was Sir Walter Raleigh. And he called himself the colored gent with the English accent. And he was very, very proper British. And was a black guy. And so I don't know how many people were even hip to the Valentinos. See if you can find a Valentinos in the computer somewhere. And they had a tune called Looking for Love. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And so what I don't know is Sir Walter Raleigh is going to play it 3 times in a row. And I'm down with that, like it's the Valentinos. Well, later I find out that every time he plays it, he gets $10. So he plays 3 in a row. Boom, 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 boom. They made $30. And there were people that they found all these different ways to pay to play. Well, it all ended. And it really is a form of bribery, and it was illegal, and they did the investigations, and the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, that we've just had these conversations about when Jimmy Kimmel and the rest of the stuff that happened, but they imposed fines and penalties on individuals and stations involved in Payola, and the penalties included fines up to $10,000. Going to prison. Guys went to prison for it. And it is just was a time. And the book Hitmen makes the case that it may still be going on. I don't know if anybody ever did Payola and talk radio, but I'm sure there was. I mean, there's a will, there's a way. But it is a form of bribery, and often involving undisclosed payments, like the old man talked about. There would be, and you wanted favorable airplay. In other words, placement or in a promotion. And the promoters were part of it. But the important part about Top 40 radio, or what becomes what is Top 40 radio, is there were hit-making cities. And New York City was not a hit-making city. Chicago wasn't a hit-making city. Miami was not a hit. Los Angeles was not. San Francisco was not, although that does turn in the 60s. Hit-making cities were Cleveland, Detroit, Pittsburgh, what's now known as the Rust Belt. And it was the place where black and white kids crossed over. And if you could get a hit in Pittsburgh, if you could get a hit in Detroit, wow. If you could get a hit there, if you could get a hit in Cleveland, that record would go to New York. That record would go to Chicago. That record would go to L.A. That record would go to Miami. But they knew, and so if you make it a hit, by paying people to play it, and going full circle back to Dick Clark, And Dick Clark wrote a book called Rock, Roll, and Remember. It's very good. You get a chance to read it, read it. And so as it turns out, the guy that had the bandstand show originally in Philly bandstand was in Philadelphia. He was a local disc jockey. And he got popped for putting moves on the, more than putting moves. Trying to clean this up. What did he do, Peter? Well, he was with these young high school girls that were coming on the show. And it was an after school show. It was one of the, and every city had a dance party, generally on a Saturday afternoon on television, and a local disc jockey would MC it. Well, this was every day after school. So the show's hot. The show's doing well in Philly. And this guy takes the dive. So nobody knows what to do. What are we going to do? And the floor director was Dick Clark's dad. And Dick Clark was a weekend jock. He was a fill-in. And he said, my son. And Dick Clark comes in. He's handsome. He's clean cut. He looks good. He speaks well. He fills the bill because they got this other guy that I don't know if he went to jail or not. I think he did. But it ended his career. He was through. He was out. He was gone. Dick Clark takes the show. So Dick Clark's wife and Dick Clark's smart. And Dick Clark's wife, who he later divorces, she's way smart. And if you're old enough to remember that show, he had sponsors, really strong sponsors. What he did was he took stock in the company. He's pushing product on the air, but he's not taking cash. I mean, later it turns out to be something called talent fees. We all got talent fees for selling stuff. Well, that wasn't the case. And so Dick Clark, and so then they get into record business. And they discover this guy, and I did a radio show, sat with Hank Ballard, and I loved Hank Ballard when I was a kid. Your Sexy Ways, Annie Had a Baby, House of Blue Lights, Annie Had a Baby, Can't Work No More. It was real raw rock blues. Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, and I got to meet Hank Ballard and hang with Hank Ballard. And Hank Ballard did a song called The Twist. Wrote it. Was his. But it was, I don't know if you can find the original Hank Ballard in there or not, but it's infinitely better than Chubby Checker, taking nothing away from Chubby. But it was Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, man, Your Sexy Ways. That was a tune. And Porky would play that stuff on Whammo. They'd play it on Whammo, but they wouldn't play it on a white boy station, KQV, or the top 40. But you could play, it's like a lot of those guys were so good, and they could not be played. And so Dick Clark and his wife, they find this guy. And if you think about the words, the name, Fats, Chubby, Checker, he's playing it right, taking a break. Chubby Checker, Fats Domino. The similarities in names. And the song was The Twist. We're coming back. Calls, lines are open, 303-696-1971.
Drop back to the mid-40s Sunday night with a new round of rain showers into early Monday morning. For Monday and Tuesday, partial sunshine, highs mid-60s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call 720-851-1691 or visit them online at besteverhvac.com. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Valentinos. And I'm looking everywhere, and I'm looking for love. I haven't heard that song in so many years, and I can still sing it. Yeah. Looking for love. So that was the best example I think I heard of people taking bribes. 710 KNUS. We are the morning show on Saturday, October 4th, 2025. 80 will be the high, 69 Sunday, Monday, 65 degrees. To sort of wrap all of that up, it made and broke radio, it changed radio, and people made a lot of money, lost money, went to jail, and Dick Clark and his wife spun out of it. And if you get a chance, I did a phone interview with Dick Clark on that book called Rock, Roll, and Remember. And it's kind of a rite of passage. It's about, other books have been written about how he got the gig in Philadelphia, and then he's the one that said, we're taking the show to L.A. He was mimicking Carson. When Carson went to California, Dick Clark went to California. And the show changed because Philly was a hit-making city, and he started playing different music, and then, but the story about them creating Chubby Checker, he and his wife, is a great story, and Hank Ballard's song is the twist, and they took the name from Chubby Checker from Fats Domino, and it just made a ton of sense, and then they got involved in being in Dick Clark Productions, and he was a smart enough guy. But there are some rumors that perhaps Dick Clark went on the take. Don't know, but he was a grand interview. I was all about that. But that's when music was, and those guys, and there's still some. If you read the behind the scenes and the trades people talk about, it still goes on, and particularly in rap music, that some of those guys, and they're in jail and all kinds of things went on, but they were still running that down. Okay, the show I wanted to do today, although that was, thank you, John Caldera, was about personal fear. And I took the line from Ronald Reagan, are you better off, when he asked, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And so this is an open lines question. Do you feel safer today than you did 4 years ago? And I did about 3 or 4 afternoons and evenings of reading. And personal safety fears are at an all-time high in our country. 40%, this is a Gallup number, 40% of us are afraid to walk alone at night near your home. I'll ask the question to you. Are you afraid to walk alone at night? Your current safety depends on location, or safety concerns vary from national threats to local issues like disasters or civil unrest. But the United States, the potential for violent crime against you, people see it as higher than it's been in certainly their lifetimes. Potential targets, and by the way, in doing my reading, the audience is a varied audience, but I think, we were talking about this before the show started, if I were to ask a Jewish American this morning on this show, are you safer now than you were 4 years ago? Do you feel safer? If you're a Jewish American, 40% of Americans, the most in 3 decades, they'd be afraid to walk alone at night within a mile of their home. This indicator of crime has reached this level, and I really did. I thought about what goes on today in this country, and if you're Jewish, you can't tell me, oh, no, I feel just as safe as I did. Or this craziness in, say, I don't know, 15 years ago, sent your kids or grandkids off to school, hey, I'll see you this afternoon. But you don't feel that now. And Gallup measured America's sense of personal safety. And they started this question, I didn't realize this, from 1965. A record 48% have now worried about their personal safety. That wasn't the case in 65. Latest results from Gallup's annual crime poll, conducted October 2-3 of a year ago, which also finds relative high portions of us rating the crime problem as serious and believing it has worsened. And now if you go back to Donald Trump's legitimate win, not the nonsense and the lies that were told on this station, but when he used crime, and remember, people really went after him. But new polls that ask Americans how often they worry about experiencing various crimes consistent with prior years, the most common crime, and again from my reading, is being the victim of a number of different things, but identity theft. I would have never thought that'd be on the list. Identity theft. 72% of us. Additionally, half of us, half of adults, we worry about having our cars stolen or broken into. 44% worry about their home being burglarized. More than 3 in 10 worry about being mugged. That's the one, the violent crime, or being attacked while driving. 32% of us. Lower levels. I mean, so do you find yourself, and I think it's a legit question, are you stealing from Ronald Reagan? Do you feel safer today than you did 4 years ago? Lines are lighting up. 303-696-1971 is going to rain in the cast. But get ready, 11 o'clock, Larimer County Deputy Jason Hart. The guy's like the best. All right, here we go. Gary in Colorado Springs, you're on the radio show Saturday morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Peter. I apologize for the background noise. I'm out running right now in Colorado Springs, so bear with me. You asked about if I feel safer. I'm a 70-year-old Jewish guy, lived in Colorado Springs for 43 years, and been a member of our shul for almost a little over half of that time. And when I came out of the first night of Dug Cartel, which starts at sundown on Wednesday and then goes through the next couple of days, I walked out about 9 o'clock and I had to think about it as I walked in it's a small synagogue, and I had thoughts about getting picked off, and so understand the timing on this. That was Wednesday night. Thursday morning, Manchester occurred.
Oh, yeah.
And so all I'm suggesting to you is that you ask the question, and I had to think long and hard, because I huff and puff here, and I would tell you that I don't. As a Jew, I don't.
I thought of Jews in particular when I was doing the reading, and I didn't see any data that suggested that people were doing any research inside the Jewish community. That came from me watching the attacks on college campuses and watching what's taking place in general, and I wondered if being a Jewish American is a standalone, or is there somebody else that feels it? And if you monitor the media for events and specifics, you find, Jewish Americans have become a target. That's plain cut and dry, and you know it much better than I would know it.
Well, I think that a lot of my feelings about kind of where we are of course, we've been a target for 2,000 years. But aside from that, the way that Netanyahu has executed the war subsequent to October 7th and has created total isolation for Israel in the world's view scares me. It absolutely scares me.
However, as I may feel as I feel about what's taking place in Gaza, I never thought that it would be, okay, now you can blame this guy or you can beat somebody up on Harvard's campus or Yale's campus because they happen to be a Jewish kid from New York. And that would heighten my, what do they call it, threat environment or potential targets. And that's really what I think that's what you think about. But the one personal safety Gallup that had nothing to do with ethnic identity or anything, 40% of us are afraid to walk alone at night near their home. 40%. They worry about being victimized by crime. Now, that has nothing to do with being anybody but an American. And if I were, and I am elderly, but I don't believe it, but in elderly people, it's a higher demo for muggings and beatings. What do you do with all of that?
Well, I live in a city that is pretty. First of all, it's totally white bread. It's like living in a loaf of Wonder Bread in Colorado Springs, and I'm a minority here as a Jew, and my answer to you on that is I've never felt threatened by Focus on the Family or the Christian right.
That's not it. Yeah. I mean, that's not who is. You would be in individual crimes, person on person or crimes against persons. It would not be any organization that you would fear. The potential targets of violence. In other words, they are more apt to be the target. Faith-based institutions, and you were just talking about schools and government facilities. Those are it's all divided up now, I think, but those are kind of like the terrorist or crypto or Nero terrorist attacks. Nobody. What's the purpose of shooting up a shul? You're not robbing it, I mean, it isn't like you're going into the bank. You're just killing people for what reason? You say to me.
My answer would be 15 minutes of fame with a distorted view of what fame is.
But why? But why churches? Why temples?
Well, and I listen to you almost, every Saturday, and listen to you all the way back to Mr. Berg. My answer to you on that is that they're low, easy targets, and depending on the slant or the reason for going after these targets, is that they're easy prey, and whether it's the LDS Church.
I'm just going to bring that up. I'm just going to bring that up. No, I'm just saying, in all the church shootings and temple shootings that I've read about or witnessed, that's the first time I think that the LDS Church got shot up.
And and I'm originally from Arizona, which has the second largest Mormon population in the country, next to Utah, and they're I'm Jewish and they're Mormon, but they are good citizens, raise good families, have good morals, and I think there was a bit of this guy, and I've not heard, by the way, about if they've come to a conclusion on motive. But again, it goes back to my point about these guys that are just so just demented and
Do they
will do things like
do they encourage one another? I was with a number of the men and women who covered Evergreen, the shooting in Evergreen, and the stuff that they told me. I don't even want to talk about it on the show. I was with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, yesterday morning. We had breakfast, and his grandfather was in the LDS church, and he was raised as he was born as an LDS kid. And that shooting in Utah, jeez, where'd that come from? You know, where did any of these things come from?
Yes.
They're telling me, I'm telling you 30 seconds. Gary, you made the morning. Great first call. Thank you so much. Be safe. All right, folks, there's one line open, 303-696-1971. It's Saturday, 80 degrees. Stay here. It's Saturday morning, everyone. October 4th. There he is. Now that's Chubby. That's not Hank Ballard. Morning, everyone. 303-696-1971. On-air number 80, the high. I'm Peter Boyles. We have two lines open. 303-696-1971. Before we go to the phones, Dan Kaplis Law, Dan Kaplis' firm. Dan's my friend, and we were texting a little bit this week. Dan suggested you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you speaks volumes. And Dan, of course, we talked about him, son of a Chicago cop, and was seminarian, and 40 years of his life helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. He's the man. Dan Kaplis Law, official law firm, now the Nuggets and the Abs, serious firm for serious cases. Danny accepts righteous injury cases on percentage fee basis. And so he represents good folks like yourself from all walks of life without regard and ability to pay. See the man. Dan Kaplis Law, 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551, Kaplis Law. Danny's last name is CAPLISlaw.com. Here we go. We go to Jay and Parker. Jay, thank you. You're on a radio show. Good morning.
By the way, that Chubby Checker Fats Domino name relationship was great trivia. Thank you for that. That's why I listened to you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of a contrarian view of the popular sentiment. I'm Jewish American. I'm not visibly Jewish. I have tons of Jewish American friends. We don't wear yarmulkes. We don't wear anything that identifies as Jewish American. So this whole thing about an increase in anti-Semitism, there's so many people that doesn't relate to. I feel it's been exaggerated.
But the numbers really saying that? I mean, that.
Well, I think the numbers are for those who are visibly Jewish. So I guess those could be valid numbers, right?
Remember, I mean, I've had this conversation with others who say, well, I don't go to temple and I don't do this and I don't do that, so I'm really not Jewish. I said, try telling that to the boys in the 30s that you weren't Jewish.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, you're going. And so,
right, but yeah, we're just not. I walk around Walmart or the mall or anything. Nobody knows I'm Jewish or anything.
But I mean, I understand that. I mean, I get all of that. But when people become aware of who you are ethnically, and one of the things when I was trying to put the show together was, I thought personal safety fears in this country today. If I were Jewish, I went through this horrible crime where they murdered my friend who was Jewish, and all the lessons that came out of that. And I realized.
I guess with the question. Yeah. The question should be posed for those who are visibly Jewish, those who go to shul, to synagogue, those who wear yarmulkes or a Star of David in public. I think the question is more apropos for those who are visibly Jewish, as opposed to the vast majority of us who just walk around Walmart with everyone else.
Well said, but go ahead.
The other thing I wanted to say was, I came out here in '88. I was in Brooklyn before then. I feel much safer now. And the fact that we have a concealed carry permit law, which we didn't have here until when, the 90s or something, I think, Owens?
I think you're right.
He delayed it because of Columbine. I know that. He delayed signing it. And I keep, a loaded gun in my car. And what prompted me to keep the loaded gun in the car was after, what was his name, the loss at Rodney King, and on Monaco and Leetsdale, they were attacking cars stuck in traffic. And I remember that, and I said, nope, that's not going to be me. And the fact that I can, sometimes I'll go down. There's a pizzeria on South Broadway open till 3 a.m. every night called Pie Hole. Sometimes at 1:32 in the morning, I wake up, mood for pizza, and I drive down there. And there's some homeless characters there. I just take my gun, just carry it with me. I feel fine. The fact that we have a CCW makes me feel much safer. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a great experiment to do, and it was done to me a long, long time ago when I was writing police stories for old Denver magazine. And this Gallup personal safety Gallup poll, 40%, I mean, that's almost half. 40% of us are afraid, according to the poll, are afraid to walk alone at night near your home. And this was done as an experiment to me. And they said, it was a city block and it was late at night. And they said, walk around the block. And I did. And then when I got back to where they were, they said, here, now take my service revolver, put it in your pocket. Now walk around the block. And tell me how much different you feel. And I think their service revolvers, I think, were 38s. Right. And just put it in your pocket, and just walk back around that block, and see how much different you feel with the gun in your pocket versus without the gun in your pocket. And you know what? Right. You know, I got to tell you, Jay, you're right. It's like light years difference.
Right, because you're not vulnerable. I mean, sitting in that New York City subway, crossing under the East River, and the car, it would get stuck for 8 to 10 minutes. Lights would go out, and there's 3 people on the subway car at 1 a.m. I was a sitting duck. Fortunately, nothing ever happened. But and also, isn't the murder rate a lot lower now than it was in the late 80s, early 90s? I
think you're right, but I also think it depends on where.
Okay.
The current safety depends on your location or your what you vary from local issues. Donald Trump's now sending, and this is for, it's open line, so have at it.
Yeah.
But they're sending the NGs into Portland now, and it's raising the ire of a lot of people. And I don't know if that's really the job of the Guard in the first place, but regardless, there are people that are welcoming the Guard, and there are people that are saying no. Chicago is a violent, violent place, but Denver's become violent.
But from what I understand, most of the crime, the murders, let's take murders, is between people who have some previous relationship with each other.
They know one another.
Right.
I mean, I've had cops tell me that 7 out of 10 times you know the guy that killed you.
Right. So most of us, your listeners, we live normal lives. We don't know people who want to kill us. As far as the National Guard walking around the cities, look, more eyes and ears on the street. Good. But look, a lot of cops, the vast majority of their time is doing accident reports, aided cases, right? Someone has a heart attack on the street. Domestic violence about, let me get my clothing out of the house. I'm moving out and I'm afraid of you. Domestic violence type stuff. I don't see the National Guard doing accident report forms or any of this other stuff.
Well, I'm just telling you. When I started looking at this week, reality is what people believe it to be. That's the interesting thing. And and the numbers jump. The data jumps about crime in the U.S. and it depends on who does this, who does that. But to look at a number, and this is what really caused it for me to say, well, I did the show with it. 40%. That's a significant number. Afraid to walk alone at night, near their homes. Worried about being victimized. Specific crimes. And by the way, specific crimes remain at record highs. And fear of crime for people, like you said, everyday people, just doing some routine activity. Now, reality deals from the bottom of the deck, but it's still, it's the view that people have, and so it's real.
And I wonder if we look at that and spend how much time people spend watching local news versus not,
the internet,
and then see what the perceptions are. The internet. Sure. By the way, you hit on something with identity theft.
Yeah,
that's nonstop. My mother's in Florida, and I have to manage everything for her because she can barely see it anymore. constantly having her bank account stolen. And, yeah.
I'm getting yelled at. Great call. Thank you. 303-696-1971. Are you personally afraid to go out at night or walk by yourself? 710 KNUS. And good morning again, everyone. Saturday, October 4, 2025. I'm Peter Boyles. Good old 710 KNUS. We are Denver's talk station. The weather, and I caught some rain riding in early this morning, but it says 80 will be the high, maybe some rain, 46 tonight, 69 degrees tomorrow with isolated showers, 65 on Monday. Good to have you here. 303-696-1971 is the phone number. In the next hour at 11 o'clock, I guarantee you, last Sunday was the MC1 honor run that left Columbine High School, and everyone was there, and it was just great. A lot of money got raised. I spoke with Mark Miller and, of course, Frank DeAngelis and Jeff Schrader and so many of the people who have always been there when someone needs help. So we raise money, as you probably know. We've done it for 12 years, beginning when we lost Dave Baldwin, for first responders and police officers and troopers and others who have been injured in the line of duty. And so we generally get someone up to speak, or one or two people to speak, or family members to speak. So they say to me, Larimer County Deputy Jason Hart is going to come up and talk. And I'm like the pneumatic tube system, I'm the MC. What do you want? Okay, I'll do it. And he had been shot by no less than a .44 Magnum in the line of duty. So he comes up to speak, and he rolls the house. It's hard to believe that somebody could say, and I got shot by a .44, and this is how funny it is. He was amazing. So I sort of button hooked him, and I said, hey, man, would you do this radio show that I do? And he said, sure. So at 11 o'clock, he's on by phone. Now, I had a turn in my own thinking. We have one line open, and I did some readings beginning about Tuesday, Wednesday this week on personal safety because of something that had happened to a friend of mine, and personal safety fears in this country. And I stole the great Ronald Reagan line. Do you remember when Ronald Reagan said, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And I flipped it into, do you feel safer today than you did 4 years ago? And one of the addendums that I wanted to bring up, and then we'll go to the phones, the U.S. strikes on allegedly the Venezuelan dope boats, and how much crime in our country has to do with drugs. How much crime in this country has to do with dope and or alcohol, but principally it's narcotics, and they were called narco-trafficking vessels. And there was another strike just a few days ago. And the attack marks the fourth one that our military strike in the Caribbean, principally against Venezuela. So you can add that into what you think is going on. Let's begin. We start with Don in Lakewood. Hey, Don, you're on the radio show. Good morning, and thank you.
Hey, good morning, Peter.
Morning, sir.
So, real quick, I know you got some callers that want to chime in also. I think that if the people in this country would respect the law, we wouldn't have to be doing the things they're doing that Trump's forced his hand to do.
The same thing's true with the same thing's true with the dope boats.
Well, I'm in favor of all of it, Peter. You and I have been around so long, and we've seen how everything has just gone downhill.
Yep.
And it's just as bad as, I remember one of the staffers who was writing for stuff back for Obama, and a reporter says, well, that's really not the truth. He says, yeah, but it sounds better. It's just like, I don't know when everything flipped, but I'm in favor of them going in, using whatever they need to do, and let's put it to you like this. It's better them than me.
Well,
and have you ever fired a 44 mag?
Yes, I have, in fact. I have.
Pretty powerful gun, aren't they?
Well, I did it at a range, and it'll jump. I mean, if you don't have it in two hands, it's still coming back, even when you got it holding it with two hands. I don't want to ruin this by any stretch of the imagination, but he's in a pursuit, and the guy pulls a 44 and shoots him. I mean, this is a remarkable guy. He's the lead instructor for motorcycles for their department too, so he's a rider. But this is he knocked everybody into the dirt with the story that he tells, and so, and again, I failed to bring it up, and then I thought, well, add this into the mix that the U.S. strikes, and we struck another dope boat off the Venezuelan coast. Now, allegedly, 4 people died, and allegedly they're dope boats, narco boats. Do you support those strikes?
100%. The more, the better.
See?
I support being lethal with anything trying to come in this country to undermine our sovereignty. I don't care. I'm tired. I'm done. I've hit the wall. I have no compassion left for any of these people. You break the law, you do the time. FAFO.
Yeah.
So, hey,
Well,
on
there.
that 44 mag, I used to hang out with a bunch of cops out of District 3 over in the 70s. My buddy had a 44 mag. We went up to Steamboat to cut some firewood, and I shot that thing at a big, huge stump that was sitting on another one. That bullet hit it, and in slow motion, that log fell over. I mean, this thing was probably 2 feet, maybe foot and 10 inches in diameter. They just have so much energy behind them. And there's another cop. There was another cop. You know, Detective Ponzi, right?
Oh yeah, sure, really well. I mean,
yeah. I used to work. I used to work on his car back in the early 70s. He was quite the character.
Oh, he was a fighter.
Anyway,
he was a fighter.
I know. His brother used to be a weightlifter.
Indeed, I knew them both.
Steve, I think it's Steve.
That's
Ponzi.
right. That's right.
And there was another cop. His first name, I won't even get into his name. Anyway, he went to the range to fire Tommy's 44 mag, and he didn't believe the thing had a kick. The thing smacked him right in the nose.
Bad.
That came up. You know what his nickname was after that?
Go.
Dirty Richard.
Well,
I got to let you go after Dirty Harry.
That was the Dirty Harry gun.
Nobody. That's why we called him Dirty.
Yeah,
everybody at District 3 called him Dirty.
Yeah,
Nobody called him Richard.
And this incredibly brave man, but I mean, it's a don't miss at 11, and I don't often say that, but it's.
I'm on it. I got to go drive there. I got to cut you short.
Go get him.
Be safe. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, sir. You too. We go to Pete in Palmer Lake. We have a line open. Pete, thank you for waiting. You're on the show.
Good morning, Pete. Great subject matter. I just wanted to give you kind of my 2 cents here. I've been a cop for 30 years, and I think what we're missing here is how did we get to this point? And how we got here, in my estimation, is a lack of accountability, not only from the individual, but I think from now a political movement, the Democrats. We've legislated accountability off the books. We've allowed people to run rampant in the streets. And I think the whole defund the police movement and things like that have had a greater effect than what we even think has happened in society.
Are you still on the job?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can't wait to get out of it.
Well, there it is.
I got about a year and a half left.
A lot of my friends are telling me exactly the same things. I'm getting out. I'm getting off. One of the guys that I've made a deepest friendship with over the years through fundraising, through Emily's Parade and now through MC1, he's counting the days. And he's a hell of a cop. And he's counting the days. He just wants out.
Most cops I know are doing the same thing. It's the occupation has changed so dramatically over the course of my career, let alone the last 10 years. I think most police officers feel handcuffed. There's so much accountability on our end, and there should be. Don't get me wrong. But what we've done is we've made the police profession something to be. You can't go out and do your job.
Do you believe? By the way, thank you for doing this call. By the way, do you believe this Gallup poll that says 40% of us are afraid to walk alone at night near your home, near their homes?
I do.
I do too.
But I think we got to go back to why.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why? Because you can steal 30 cars in the state of Colorado, and you're not going to get a jail sentence. Why? Because we have basically said, okay, you know what? As a criminal, you have more rights, and we'll bond you out. What do you think these people do for a living?
Well, look at this case with Reams. Look at the case with Reams up in Weld County, where
Crazy.
It's gotten national attention. Steve is, by the way, just one of the greats. But according to the polling data, and I spent a couple of days reading, principally, people are worried about being victimized on specific crimes, and crimes against persons, and that not. Everybody says, okay, I could get, you could steal my car, you could do this, you could do that. But getting mugged, crimes against persons, seems to be a very high demographic. And I could just see, like I said, I'm an old guy, but you really see like an old lady out there. As a sidebar, I was telling somebody the story, and I think I told it on the air. Thousands of years ago, there was a book entitled Conversations with the Prince. And the guy was allegedly a Saudi prince and living under Sharia law. And he would have conversations with the narrative in the book. And he said, we cut the hands off of thieves. He said, and every day in your country, he said, hundreds and hundreds of elderly women are kicked to the ground and their purses are stolen, and they get mugged, and you do nothing about it. Now, let me ask you, which of us is the barbarian? Wasn't that great?
Well, let's give you an American version of that story.
All right.
We have this guy, this ex-Marine in the subways in New York about 2 years ago that decides he's not going to watch other passengers get victimized when some cretin comes on, and the guy puts him in a chokehold, and unfortunately, without intent, this gentleman dies. God knows what's in this guy's system, what contributing factors. But we rest assured there's no intent for this guy to kill him. All his intent is he wants to protect himself and others around him. And what do we do as a society? We try the Good Samaritan.
Yeah. No.
Okay? The problem is we don't see justice anymore.
I know another story just identical to that happened locally. That it's called a conga, and slapped a conga on a guy and the guy dropped, and and the aftermath of it was horrible, and and I don't know what to do or what to say, but that. Let me throw the curveball question under the sidebar question. The U.S. strikes another alleged dope boat off the Venezuelan coast. Yes or no?
Reluctantly, yes, and I'll tell you why. Because how many hundreds of thousands of Americans are we losing every year to fentanyl? To drug addiction.
There you go.
What is the effect on this on American society?
There you go.
And these people that we're hitting in these boats, they're not human. They and I don't say that lightly. What they want to do is the destruction of this country is coming from a population that no longer wants to contribute to a civil society.
And I've often said that. If there wasn't a want or a need, and mind you, I'm in recovery, but if there wasn't a want or a need for narcotics, it would stack up on the other side of the border or stack up in Venezuela. But there's so much money to be made and gained and now it's in the hands of the cartels. Wow.
Look at, and I'm not saying this is the answer.
No.
But look at what the communist Chinese did.
Oh, I
with
talked
the
about it many times. Many times I've talked about it.
They came in and said, you know what? If we find you on opium tomorrow, we're going to kill you.
It was the barefoot doctors after the revolution, and Mao sent them in and said, "We will be back." And
look at how it cleaned up their society. As far as you don't have the drug addicts over there anymore, and it cleaned it up rather quick. And I'm not advocating for that.
No, it's
what I'm advocating for is you have to treat the drug trade as a clear and present danger to the society of America, and you have to treat it. You have to treat it as if it's a war.
And it is a war. It's called the War of the Ants. Where the ants war, and people just walk past them. Or there's a term in the Arab world. They have a saying that says, the dogs bark, but the caravan passes by. And the amount of money that is involved in narcotics trafficking must be staggering. And organized crime's involved. Everybody's involved. And so now, when
Peter, what do you think the effect on the American economy of having millions of people addicted to drugs, even marijuana?
Oh, sure.
What do you think? These people can't work. They don't work.
Won't work.
90% of the homeless are addicted to these drugs, and we keep throwing billions of dollars at that.
Sure.
And it's not working.
No.
So what do? Again, we double down on it. Oh, we can fix it. Look at what's happened in Denver. They're not fixing it. They're blowing billions of dollars now on a problem that they have no idea, and they helped create. They've created this.
And look, if you look at this mayor, when there are overdose deaths in Denver Health, what responsibility did you put on him for finding dead young men and women, or for that matter, there's a link of responsibility to this character for what he has done, i.e. with the homeless. The whole thing is up for grabs, and it's maddening to me. So I decided, well, let's listen to the people on the radio show. But when I read this personal safety Gallup poll, and it was done November the 18th, 2024, so it's not even a year old, and the staggering 40% of us afraid to walk alone at night. Wow, you take care of yourself, man. We'll see you on the job. Be real safe. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Let me do this. I'd start another call, but we're under a minute. Good morning, everyone. This is good stuff. The personal fear safety is at such a high in this country right now. And Ronald Reagan, certainly one of my two most favorite presidents of my lifetime. The other was FDR, which makes it really interesting. But Ronald Reagan, when Reagan said, do you feel, about today more than you did 4 years ago? And I dropped that in there. Do you feel safer today than you did 4 years ago? And seemingly most people don't. Personal fear, safety at a 3-decade high. 710 KNUS, we are Denver's talk station. We'll do a turnaround. Stay here. 80 will be the high. 69 tomorrow. Monday at 65 degrees. Adam, it is all yours. high today, 46 tonight. Okay. I love this song. Everybody plays a fool. Doop. Comes the break. Dig this. Everybody. 710 KNUS, good morning, everyone. Peter Boyles on the air everywhere and coming up in about a half an hour. Larimer County Deputy Jason Hart. I'm happy to talk about our friends at Water Pros. Water Pros really does care about the quality of your water. Remove forever chemicals and microplastics and hard water with Water Pros. And they do this test, and it's a gimme. Start the process to gowaterpros.net and sign up for your free, the F word, free in-home consultation. They'll come to your home, they'll test your water, they'll answer all your questions and concerns about your water. I trust these guys with my water, you will as well. Water Pros is family-owned, a veteran-owned business dedicated to providing you with the best water treatment, far less than anybody else. But take the gimme. Go to waterpros.net today, request your free water test. 303-862-5554. That's as far as you have to go. Let them test your water, and they can show you the results. 303-862-5554. Ask for the Peter Boyles special, waterpros.net today. I'll read a text, and then we'll go back to the phones. Lines are jammed. Lefty Tony from Denver. We had a war on drugs before, and how'd that work out? I can't believe you and your listeners would condone killing people, that we just have to take Trump's word are drug smugglers. I suspect they're drug smugglers. And again, if you read the history of narcotics trafficking, and a caller mentioned China, Franklin Delano Roosevelt's grandfather, his name was Warren Delano, and he made his fortune smuggling, they didn't even smuggle opium into China. The British government was involved, the royal family was involved, the wealthy were involved, and they addicted a country. And there was something called the Opium Wars. And the Chinese ultimately lost and had to give up Hong Kong and Macau. The Portuguese took Macau, the British took Hong Kong and Kowloon, and a lot of people died. Which was better, which was worse? All right, let's go back to the phones. Where do we start here? We go to line three. Line three is Marty in Denver. Hey, Marty, thanks. Good morning and welcome to the show.
So good to be with you, Peter, and such an important topic. And I want to preface by saying this is with love, and I have some bad news for the Trump administration, that the root cause of the violence in America, Peter, it's not on a speedboat in the Caribbean. It's in our American ghetto. It's in our American inner city. And so when I hear the president in the country going goo-goo gaga over a fake peace deal in Israel or some kind of broker deal in Ukraine, I say, well, have you seen the destruction in our American ghetto? And so that's where it starts right there.
I don't argue that. And when these terms I'm reading are coming out of Gaza, if anybody thinks that ends the war between Palestinians and Israelis, they're out of their minds.
Correct. Give them 90 days and you'll be back, or 30 days. I mean, it's laughable, but you're bringing up a great point. How does the American black who's living in this ghetto, poverty, crime-ridden nightmare, tell me how a peace deal in Israel or Palestine affects or lifts them up, Peter? Does it move the needle at all for the hell they're living in?
No, it doesn't. But again, there's pressures everywhere, foreign policy decisions, and I'm an isolationist by nature. I'm like Washington's farewell address, the things that Eisenhower taught us about the military-industrial complex. I'm that guy, but I'm also the children that are being murdered in Gaza, and that's really the word that you use is murdered. They're not combatants. They're not going digging out Hamas. These are babies that are being killed.
Oh, yeah.
And what happens when those kids become 19, 18, 17? And it begins again. And there is, I think it was Trevor Roper that said, there are places in the world where there is no tomorrow. It's just yesterday repeating itself. And
Yeah.
so what we're watching, it's all happened before.
It is, and we kept thinking, well, at least the facade, the one of the lines from Trump was, we're getting America out of this international chaos, international brokering.
Yeah.
I mean, again, for a company as dysfunctional, as violent, as just in decay as America is, to be offering advice to any country in the world, it's just a laughable concept. And I would push back on these liberals. I think you had Tony, a liberal, talking about a war on drugs. If these liberals actually cared at all about people, they would be all over this black crime issue. Now, I want to make our listeners aware, your listeners aware, because when they assess this, it should stoke compassion. But we have 2% of the population committing 50% of the violent crime in America. We know it's black men, 18 to 45, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Middle East. We're talking about the border. These liberals care at all about these people and say you deserve better in America, and we start there, though, Peter.
There's certain things that people have learned that can't be done and can't be said. And until that time, I find myself, it's like I get knocked out by listening to other radio shows who call Hamas anti-Semitic. And it's like, no, they're both Semites. The Palestinians are Semites and the Israelis are Semites. But what they are, this is Hamas and these guys, and they're anti-Zionists. And I mean, everything gets, people, I find, probably including myself, don't know the root cause of something, or better yet, the reality deals off the bottom of the deck, as I said earlier. But the U.S. strikes another boat off the Venezuelan coast, and they claim they killed 4. And they're dope runners. And there was a really great book that we talked about once before. It was called Blue Thunder, about the cigarette boats. And the guy that built the cigarette boats was murdered by organized crime. His partner, by the way, was George Bush's brother. He was the partner in the boat, and the girlfriend. I was telling somebody this story. It was either his girlfriend or his wife was the woman that ended up on the monkey business with Gary Hart and this political healer by the name of Broadhurst, and they were on the monkey business. But she was married to, I think she was married to the guy that built the cigarette boats. And they were running the drugs. And this was during the time of Pablo Escobar. This is before these people got their hands on. Remember, Escobar and those guys, they ran the drugs all the way in. And now they have frightened so many people. They have scared so many people. And this is a huge, whether it's in the inner city or it's some white kid in Terre Haute, Indiana. I mean, the drugs don't care.
The difference, though, Peter, is that the people that are in that poll, they're not necessarily scared of the rich white kid in the suburbs getting high as a kite. They're worried about the fear of their life comes from that inner city user, that ghetto user, that will resort to violence immediately as opposed to go to his parents for more money for drugs. Now, what's right or wrong? I mean, it doesn't make one better than the other.
No.
But I think the idea is the culture has to reject this stuff. We're not going to be able to blow up enough speedboats and blow up enough countries to end the drug trade, but the culture has to reject it. There's no business here. Now, whether or not that's ever attainable, it would take a supernatural regeneration of the heart, but we need to say we're not interested in that product.
There's a case to be made, and when drugs hit America in the middle 60s, and LSD and everything that happens, and there can be a case made, and I've read it, and it sounds sound to me, that America did not have a drug problem until Muffy opened up Buffy's sock drawer in Cherry Hills and found weed. Now we have a drug problem. That if it happened in the inner city or in the barrio, we didn't have a drug problem. We had a drug problem when the middle class and upper middle class white kids were and of course the war and all kinds of stuff are variables in the model. Just like what happened to the Chinese is almost repetitive again. You have outside forces dealing drugs to a population that seemingly wants it, and you can't stop that. Somebody else will run the risk.
Whole point. The cop mentioned it, accountability, but it's the Harts. Fathers in the home. I'm thinking of the inner city where they're protecting the home and they're pushing back on all that.
No, but
wouldn't that be the dream?
But in the same time, I know so many people in treatment that come from middle class families, skin color regardless, and no, I don't know if I buy that. I think
Peter, I'm 13 years sober. I was a 25-day-a-drink guy, drink-a-day guy. Came from a very nice, well-off family. It got me too. The difference is I didn't grow up in the culture to where when I did get addicted, I'm just grateful. I'm not blaming. I'm saying gratitude. I'm saying how do you extend that gift to the other suffering man? Is I got support and I got lifted out. In the inner city community, they resort to really depravity-filled activity. We should, as Americans, say no. We're going to lift that up. We're going to do better than that. We're starting here. Could care less about Israel.
I bet that I've been sober a while, and I'll bet you. I don't want to bet, but I would say in percentages, one thing, in overall general numbers another. I would imagine that there are just as percentage-wise, and it's a disease, as you well know.
Yes.
And it just doesn't give a damn about your skin color.
It doesn't.
Your sexual preference. It doesn't. It just. Love the call. Good call, Marty. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Peter. God bless you, brother.
You too. Thank you. Let's start. We got a couple minutes, right? Mark in Aurora, you're on the radio show. Then we got a turn coming. Good morning. Thank you.
Pete.
Yo.
How's it going?
Back and forth.
I'm not scared while I walk at night with my Sig Sauer because I can hit 19 out of 20 in the center.
There you go.
From 20 yards.
Well,
so I'm not worried.
No.
Is the culture worse than it was 20 years ago? Out here close to the Parker area, yes. As a matter of fact, there's incidents regularly in the King Soopers shopping center over there at Cottonwood from people that come in and are panhandling people, and they're panhandling people in big groups now, not just individuals. There are other issues of crime enforcement that are, I think, creating very lax policing. Sadly.
Again, it's so easy to blame the cops, and that's the name game or the blame game. And then they had to defund the cops because the cops were this, the cops were that. I know a lot of cops, and
I do too. I think the problem is, Pete, is the cops are mortified because they arrest the same people over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Nobody ever throws them in jail.
Look at this story that Steve Reams did and embarrassed the dog out of the governor, but the governor did nothing and just turned a deaf ear. But Reams hit a home run with this character being released. And I know Steve.
In the streets, Pete. Look what it's like in the streets.
Sure.
They closed down 16th Street. They didn't clean it up. You and I both know it'll be dirty in a week after they open it.
This mayor is a disaster. And if
he's the worst politician in the general Denver area I've seen in 40 years.
I agree.
He's that bad.
And there's been some bad ones in this guy.
And there have been some really bad ones. There have been some clowns, like Hickenlooper.
Yeah.
There's been some real clowns down there. But this
guy's bad.
They make Pena look like a savior.
Day at the beach. No, I agree.
Hey, by the way, a couple quick things.
Quick.
The 3 leaders of Hamas before they were executed, do you know what their net worth was?
I know what the PLO was worth and what that number was.
$12 billion.
Yeah.
So where did all that raised money go for all the people that are starving in Gaza?
Well, I'm not going to ever.
Now, this is I get this from people that worked there the last 30 years.
I'm
so
not.
I'm just saying.
There's no apology. I'm not making apologies for Hamas, so please don't misunderstand me. I'm
Yeah,
talking
they're not
about,
good people.
But the death toll in Gaza now is unbelievable.
But Pete, let me. And I didn't know this number till the other day. So how many Israelis have died in the same conflict? Most people think 10 or 20 or 27,000.
In the October attack, or
in the battle the last 2 years, 27,000.
Where'd the number come from?
New York Times, I think.
Huh.
It's a real number.
No, listen, I'm not arguing with you. I just have never seen it.
I'm just saying there's the perception and there's what's really going on, and it's a war and it's ugly. So
the deaths of these children are
right.
It has to end. It just has to end. Good call.
Agree.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, everybody, hang on. Do a turnaround. It's October the 4th, 2025. 80 the high, 69 tomorrow. This is 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast this Saturday. We'll start off with some sunshine. Afternoon temperatures a degree or two in the way of 80. Some widely scattered thunderstorms this afternoon and early tonight with some clearing. Lows in the mid-40s. Partly cloudy upper 60s Sunday. We'll drop back to the mid-40s Sunday night with a new round of rain showers into early Monday morning. For Monday and Tuesday, partial sunshine, highs mid-60s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call 720-851-1691 or visit them online at besteverhvac.com. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
It's a Saturday morning, everyone. 80 will be the high, 69 on Sunday, Monday, 65. Our lines are jammed. Coming up on the other side, Larimer County Deputy Sheriff Jason Hart. An incredible story. We go back to the phones. Lines are jammed. This is Mike in Highlands Ranch. Mike, thanks for calling the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Pete.
Man.
My wife and I went out to a movie last night, and it wasn't much of a choice out there, so we just randomly picked. It was called One Battle After Another. Starred Sean Penn and Leonardo DiCaprio. I was actually quite shocked. I mean, it's a leftist terrorist guide to terrorism. I mean, the movie was anti-ICE. It was had a trans in it. It had anti-military. It was downright terrorism. I mean, talk about promoting and invoking those to go out and, on the left, continue to commit assassinations and attacks on everything they believe is wrong. If you have to see the movie.
No, I'm with you. Did you expect anything different from Sean Penn? Remember, he went and met Chapo Guzman. I mean, he's Sean Penn.
I know. I didn't realize he was in it. I mean, I went for. I was thinking it was going to be an action movie, and it was not what I was expecting. But people need to be aware that there is a movement out there, and they are pushing it in the theaters, in movies, to promote terrorism on the left. It's hardcore.
And wise people understood the power of radio, television, film, and the internet. And as long as it's existed, it's been used exactly that reason for propaganda. Sean Penn, I mean, the guy's an incredible actor, but the guy is who he is. You pointed out accurately. But remember, he went and the only I can think of is he met Chapo Guzman, and he tried to put him over. And I went, Chapo Guzman, how many people do you think Chapo's good for? A couple hundred? No. So I don't have a response except it has been learned by people far smarter than me that you can use. There was a woman in Nazi Germany by the name of Riefenstahl was her last name, and she made a documentary film called Triumph of the Will, and it's about Adolf Hitler, and it's one of the most important films that were ever made as a propaganda film. Sergei Eisenstein made a film called The Battleship Potemkin after the Leninist Revolution. These people know stuff, and they know how to do it, and they knew how to do it, and they did it. And I don't know what to say, except unless you want to stop that, unless you want to take the First Amendment and say Sean Penn can't be in any more movies, or Sean Penn we'll have to judge a film by your standards or mine before it's released to the public, Mike, we're going to have a bigger problem.
Yeah, but promoting leftist propaganda and terrorism in a movie to stimulate the left to do more violence.
No,
I
I
mean,
understand.
Sean Penn came out just a couple of weeks ago and said he disagreed with the Charlie Kirk assassination and that we need more dialogue.
No, I understand.
I think he knew his movie was coming out, and he was afraid of looking bad based on this movie because he had no idea that Charlie Kirk was going to be assassinated and the left was going to try to commit all these other assassinations. So he's just covering his butt.
But we have, again, and I've talked about this through all this Jimmy Kimmel stuff and the death of Charlie Kirk. Jefferson tells me and you, the First Amendment doesn't protect what we like. It protects what we don't like.
Absolutely. Correct.
As much as I would dislike Sean Penn, I think Sean Penn, when he's been in some great films. He's a great actor. But to say that Sean Penn can't make a film or Sean Penn can't make a speech or can't make an appearance, we are asking for bigger problems than Sean Penn.
I agree. But promoting, immigrant or, it's all about immigration and how it's, shined in a bad light, and the way it's going about overturning it and attacking ICE.
But again, when you talk about, this is what also makes me nuts when people talk about the term evil. When the Nazis were going about systematically murdering as many people as they could, they did not think they were doing the wrong thing. They thought they were doing the right thing. And you can chuckle, but this is the part when people say, "Oh, that was evil." No, it was they were. This is why belief is whatever it is. Knowledge is something altogether different. But when the Waffen SS starts to murder people, it isn't that they're doing it because they think it's wrong. When the United States of America does what it does to Native Americans, Ulysses S. Grant isn't doing that because he thinks it's wrong. He thinks it's right. That's why, all this stuff gets in my mind gets thrown in the trash can because it just doesn't hold up to true logical thought. They thought they were doing the right thing, and
the victors get to write history the way they want to perceive.
They're the people that are called the court historians. And, if you win, you get to write. But regardless of even had the Nazis won, they still believed that what they were doing was right. What the Chinese were doing or rather the Japanese were doing to Chinese babies in Nanking, they thought they were doing the right stuff. I mean, this was to believe that little midget was God and sitting on the throne in Tokyo is beyond my comprehension, but in their world, he was God, or at least a creation.
On a side note, did you ever watch the October 7th movie that they produced with all the terrorist activity?
No.
Me neither. I mean, I wish you would because, I wonder if your position on Hamas would change.
Is that the one is that the film that D'Souza did?
I don't know. The one that's very hard to find that, actually shows all the video that they recorded during the October 7th attack.
People are unbelievably brutal. I mean, I don't defend Hamas by any stretch of the imagination. Condemn Hamas. But it's the people in Gaza, the children and the women and the elderly who have been, they're dead. They're gone. And all you're going to do is, and this is history on my side, is create another generation. And if anybody thinks that and cheers on that this war is over, it's just taking a time out.
True. That's history. History's never going to change. I mean, it repeats itself. I mean, the violence will always continue, and whether it's political or religious, it's never ending.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty, and that's also the great sadness of being a reader, is you see it. And I listen to people that have no clue, no understanding of the insanity that will come your way. And there's only, I've said this probably too many times, if you take the Old Testament, Quran, the Torah, Shakespeare's tragedies and comedies, Greek tragedies and comedies, that's all the themes there are. There's not another theme. That's it. And history only has X amount of themes. There's no new ones. The Peloponnesian Wars are Vietnam. I mean, it goes on, and Kurt Vonnegut says, and so it goes. But I hope that these people at least will quit killing each other now. I really believe.
Awesome, Pete.
We'll see
Have
what
a
happens.
wonderful day.
Thank you, sir. All right, we coming up on the other. Yes, we are. This guy's amazing. Larimer County Deputy Jason Hart. Hang on, stay here. morning again, everyone. It's Saturday, October the 4th, 2025. Good old 710 KNUS. 80 degrees the high today, 69 on Sunday. Monday, 65 degrees. This is going to be it. So for 12 years, we've done MC1 Honor Run, the call letters, Motorcycle One, where, of course, Dave Baldwin's, and prior to that was Emily's Parade. And for 12 years, we've fundraised, I say we collectively, a number of people, for first responders, police officers, and others who have been injured, in some cases lost on the job. And every year we do it, and every year it's just, I can't tell you the emotion of it. And I'm just the pneumatic tube system, I'm just the MC. And Mark Miller and all the guys put things together, and I guess every year we've brought somebody up on the stage, and I've been said, okay, introduce this guy, and monkey see, monkey do. So they said, we have Larimer County Deputy Jason Hart. He's going to talk. So I don't know what's going to happen, because I remembered that Jason had been shot. That's just about as much as I remembered. He comes up on the stage, and I'm going to bring him on the air. Brother, man, I got to tell you something. I said this to you off air. If this whole law enforcement thing doesn't work out, you can go and do stand-up. I mean, I've told so many people, I said, and somebody said from behind me, they said, he got shot by a .44 Magnum. And I went, oh, my God. And and first of all, you got my job. You're a motor officer. So, you and Mark Miller got my job. And by the way, I was talking about, what is your duty bike? What is your duty bike that you ride?
So we started out on the Kawasaki Concourse 1400s. They built those for, I think, 3 or 4 years. Loved that bike, but then Cowie got back out of the market, and so we had a choice, and we just couldn't go to a Harley because we've got 2,600 square miles of county to cover, and we needed something that would actually go fast.
Yeah.
So, sorry for the Harley guys out there, but if you know, you know.
That's inside. That's an inside joke. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a good meme on that. It said speed limit, 85, and then it said Harley's just do the best you can. But we ride BMW 1250 RTs.
Those are. Have you figured out a top end on that bike yet? I'm sure you have.
I figured out the top end that I will go, and that's about 130 miles an hour, but it still had plenty of play in that problem.
Yeah, they just smoke. I mean, there's motorcycles that just scare you.
Yeah.
Take them back. That's okay. I'll stay away. How long you been on the 27 years is what I read in the bio. 27 years on the job.
Yeah. Started in 98, all with the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. Well,
so Mark Miller says to me, introduce Deputy Hart, and he's a recipient. So you walked up, and he's got, they have their gear on, and these guys, when they're riding, they're wearing everything that plus a bag of chips. And he comes walking up on the stage, and he takes over. And he talks about, I'll take him back to March 10th, 2025. Deputy, if you don't mind, please tell the audience, because what a hell of a story. It is all yours.
All right. Well, I tried to keep it short at MC1 because all those people are waiting. But since we have a captive audience today.
Yes.
So I would tell you that morning began like no other. I woke up to the sound of my smoke detector in the bedroom going off at about 1:30 in the morning. And, did the classic, grab the pillow, frickin' wave it at it because it's on a vaulted ceiling, and it shut off for a second, but as soon as I put the pillow down, it's back on. And so I figured we had another wildfire going on because I had the windows open. So I was able to put a portable fan up there and gave it a few hours, and about 5 o'clock in the morning, I was like, well, I'm awake. I'll take that fan off. And it starts going off again, and then there's this weird smell in the house, and I'm like, well, crap. I better call fire. And so I called the non-emergency line and had fire department come out for a odor investigation. And so I got 3 older guys who I'd obviously woken up, that come to the in my patrol cars parked out front, and I'm like, yeah, it's not usual that I'm calling you guys for help, right? We've got an inside joke. We call them second responders.
Yeah.
Because they usually show up in stage and wait for law enforcement.
Yeah.
And so I welcomed in with that. I'm like, you guys are my favorite second responders. And so they come through, and they're like, yeah, we smell that. We don't know what it is. And he's like, but it's just the one detector going off. And it's not a real old home, so all the smoke detectors are linked, but they're, it's just the one in the bedroom. And he's like, well, it's probably a bad smoke detector. When did you replace the battery last? I'm like, oh, they don't have any batteries in them. He's like, what? I'm like, no, there was one that was going off. I couldn't figure out what it was, so I just took the batteries out of all of them. And he looks at me like I'm the dumbest person in the world and says, you're not supposed to do that. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're not supposed to speed either, but here we are. Can you fix the problem for me? And so they go through with their sniffer. They're like, hey, we're not picking up anything that was bad. Like, we can definitely smell it, but it's nothing that we know that's going to kill you. It's like, we can take that detector down for you. I'm like, oh, that'd be great. And he looks over at me and he says, do you happen to have a stepladder? Wait a second. The firefighters are asking the cop for a ladder. Yeah. And he's like, well, we could get one off the truck, but, it's dirty. We use it in fires. I'm like, what? No, nothing you have is dirty. I've seen you guys on your off time. All you do is clean things. I said, I'm going to get you a ladder because that's a story that I can tell for the rest of my life. So that's how we start off the day. And now it's 5:30. I'm awake, and I'm like, well, I might as well go to work. And so I start getting ready. I get my uniform on, and as I'm getting that, we've got an external vest carrier that most of us wear now, and so I pull that on, and I'm about to hook it up, and I look down on my dresser, and I see the two ceramic rifle plates that are issued for us. And I had taken them out because the day before I was working I was supposed to work an off-duty gig over at the ice arena for like Disney on Ice or some family show, and I was going to be on my feet for 5 hours, and I'm like, well, I'm not wearing those. I doubt I'm going to need rifle plates at Disney on Ice. And so I looked at it, I see them there, and I'm like, JC, you better take this vest off and put those rifle plates back in, because knowing your luck, today's the day you're going to get shot. And so I took it off, and I cursed myself the whole time because it took me another 5 minutes to get those in there. But I put them on. And
by the way, if you just tuned in, this guy's amazing, Deputy Hart, who was shot, and I heard him speak for the last Sunday, and he just blew me away. When you say plates, are they Kevlar plates, Deputy, that you put back in?
So no, the itself is Kevlar. That's the soft body armor.
Okay.
These are, and that's only rated for pistols. Rifles will go right through that because it's a much faster round. And so we had got a couple of brothers that live up here in Larimer County that generously donated these new vests to us that also came with rifle plates, which are ceramic, and they're about 3/4 of an inch thick, and they just cover your vital organs on your chest and on your back. Excuse me. So, and they're a little heavier. I mean, naked to dress, we're probably about 30 pounds heavier when we have all our equipment on.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I put those back in and had that little conversation with myself, and I'm like, okay, that was the smart move, because you don't want to have to explain to your boss or your family why you have this issued piece of equipment that you decided not to use. And so I got them on, and that afternoon, our traffic safety unit was having a saturation where we take everybody in the unit, and there's 5 of us on motorcycles, and we go hit a particular area. And my boss had called me the day before. He's like, hey, can you think you can get like 15 stops before we have our meeting and lunch, just on your own? And like, I'd really kind of like to bump up the numbers. And I'm like, oh yeah, I think I can get that in. And so I went out and worked in the car for the morning because it was a little cooler. And I got my 15 stops in, which, of course, made me late to lunch, which, of course, pissed off my sergeant who looked at me sideways when he got there. And he's like, he looks at his watch, and I'm like, you asked for 15. I just got done with number 15. So here I am. So pick your poison, buddy. And so we have our lunch and our meeting, and then we're all the three other guys had ridden their motorcycles there, so they headed up to this little town, LaPorte, which is north of Fort Collins. And I had to borrow a bike because although mine's new, it had a warranty issue. The gas cap, which is electronic, wouldn't open on its own, and so it was over at the shed. So the day before, because I knew it was going to be really good weather, I texted our sheriff, who's also motor certified, and I said, "Hey, boss, are you going to be using your bike tomorrow?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I was going to take it to a few meetings. Why?" I'm like, "Oh, no big deal. We're doing a saturation, and everybody else is going to be on a motorcycle, but that's okay. Give me a car. I can do that." And he responded right back, "No, tomorrow's too nice to be on four wheels." I'm like, oh yeah, he gets it. Okay. So he's like, "I'll leave in the parking lot for you." I'm like, "Great." So after the meeting, me and my boss, he's got another meeting at the office, and we go over to headquarters, and there's the sheriff's bike sitting there, and I'm like, what a great guy. He could have taken it, but he realized, yeah, okay, you want to go work on it, go have some fun. And so I pull up and I look at it, and I'm like, oh my God. That thing is filthy, because it's been sitting in our jail Sally port. He doesn't use it that often, but it's just collected dust for probably the last 6 weeks. And I'm like, I can't go work with the rest of these guys. I mean, if you guys know anything about motorcycle cops, they're pretty particular about their bikes looking nice and their boots being shiny. And so I was like, man, all right, I'll go take it and wash it. That'll be my price of admission. That's thanks for, hey, letting me borrow your bike. So I took that thing over to the nearest car wash, and I scrubbed it as hard as I could for the entire duration of the time limit. It's probably 15, 20 minutes. And I've never worked that hard on a bike, but it needed it, and I got it nice and spruced up, and it looked really, really good. And I'm like, wow, he's really going to appreciate this when I give it back to him. It's so pretty. And so then I take off from there, and I get maybe a half a mile away. I'm heading up to LaPorte. I'm in the middle of Fort Collins. I'm on Prospect Road, and I make a right-hand northbound turn onto Riverside, which takes you northwest into Old Town. And within about 5 to 10 seconds of driving northbound on Riverside Avenue, I see something that gets my attention. And there is an old man, and forgive me, he's older than me, and he's younger than you, so he's right in between us.
Let me tell folks again. This is you're obviously picking it up. Larimer County Deputy Jason Hart, and I've watched him speak at the MC1, and the story continues. Sir, it's yours.
All right. So this person, 67-year-old transient man, on a gas-powered scooter. Which, if you saw it, you would think it came right out of a Mad Max movie. Yeah. He's got 50 caliber ammo cans for his saddlebags on either side. He's got 2 hitch receivers on it. I don't even know what for. But he is riding southbound in the northbound right-hand number 2 lane, which happens to be the lane I'm riding northbound in, being silly and obeying the law. So I look at him and I'm like, not today, Satan. Nope. You shouldn't be doing that. So I hit the lights, and I look at him and make eye contact, and I point my finger, and I'm like, pull over. There's a parking lot just to the left of him. And he just kind of scowls at me, and then I'm like, well, that was weird. So I'm going to wait for a couple cars, and I get turned around, and I look in the parking lot, and he's not there. And I'm like, well, where the heck did he go? And so I look back at the traffic light at Riverside and Prospect, which is freshly turned red all 4 directions, and he's sitting there in the right-hand turn lane, but he's oriented to go left. And he's kind of sideways there, and he's still staring at me real intently, and I'm like, oh, this is not going well. Okay. obviously you need some more inspiration. So I hit the siren, and as soon as I do that, he busts through the intersection. Again, like I said, it just turned red in all directions. He gets through relatively easy, and I think to myself, come on, man, seriously? So I'm like, okay, this is how it's going to go. Fine. So I have to work my way through that intersection because the light for east and west gone green, and so he leads me down the road there, and it goes towards this park. It's called Adora Park in Fort Collins, which has a big swim pool and softball fields. And as he gets to the bottom of this hill, he sees I'm behind him. He decides, well, maybe I'll just go on the bicycle path, and there's no way he'll follow me that way. So we get on the bicycle path. I'm like, no, it's a good thing I'm on two wheels because I can go that way too. And I'm like, well, this is turned odd. I should probably get on the radio and let people know what's going on. So I hit push the talk button, which is on the handlebar of the motorcycle. And 3 times in a row, we get what's called busy tones. Because if somebody else is talking or you just can't connect with the tower or whatever, you'll get a bonk. Bonk. It tells you, hey, you can't talk right now. So I do that 3 times, and then I like, well, screw that. I guess I'll just call it out later because obviously we've got a problem to deal with here. And as soon as I release that 3rd push on that, I hear my sergeant get on and informs dispatch, hey, we're in pursuit of a white male on a motor scooter. We're westbound on the bike path at Adora Park from Riverside. And I think to myself, how the hell does he know that? And I look in my mirror, and he's right behind me. And I'm like, oh, this just got really good. So unbeknownst to me, he had left the office shortly after I got out of the car wash and just happened to be sitting at that intersection as I bust through with this guy. And he looks at it, and he told me later, he's like, I thought, oh, great, Jason's already got one. Maybe I should go find my own. And he paused for a second. He's like, no, that wasn't right. I can go help with this. This is different than normal. So as soon as I see him back there, I'm like, oh, okay, this just got way better. And so we go down the bike path, and this guy's going probably 40, 45 miles an hour down this bike path. And fortunately, it's a Monday at like 1:30 in the afternoon, so there's nobody around. And he decides, oh, well, this isn't working, so maybe I'll go in the grass. They won't follow me in the grass. And so we followed him in the grass, and he's like, well, that's not working. So maybe what I should do is go in the parking lot over there. So he goes and he hops the curb in the parking lot. And I remember having this thought in my head. I'm like, we don't train hopping curbs at motor training. We should train hopping curbs at motor training. That seems like a good idea.
And never try it on an angle. Never try and hop a curb on an angle, right?
Yeah. Lessons learned. I see it happen. But so, anyways,
Deputy, I'm being told I got a break here. And this is the good part because the good part picks up here. Adam, if you would put Deputy Hart on hold because now it turns into the story. And those of you who ride, you know this. Never take on a curb on an angle. We all learned that the hard way. You got to take them head on and jump them. But that's where this gets good. Deputy Jason Hart, just makes you what we're talking about today about crime in the country. These are the guys that hold the line. 80 will be the high, maybe rain, I don't know. 69 Sunday, Monday 65. I'm Peter Boyles. This is 710 KNUS. We are Denver's talk station.
Your 710 5-day forecast this Saturday. We'll start off with some sunshine. Afternoon temperatures a degree or two in the way of 80. Some widely scattered thunderstorms this afternoon and early tonight with some clearing. Lows in the mid-40s. Partly cloudy upper 60s Sunday. We'll drop back to the mid-40s Sunday night with a new round of rain showers into early Monday morning. For Monday and Tuesday, partial sunshine, highs mid-60s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call 720-851-1691 or visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Saturday morning, everyone. October 4, 2025. Good old 710 KNUS.
710 5-day forecast.
80 the high, 69 Sunday, and 65 on Monday. As we reset this, Deputy Jason Hart is with us, Larimer County Deputy, part of MC1 last Sunday, got up and spoke, and you can hear him. He is incredible, and what a cop. So take us back. It's March 10th, 2025, and Deputy, you find this guy on the wrong way. He's a motor scooter driver, and you're on your patrol motorcycle, and the suspect fled. And if you would, sir, please pick it up there.
Okay. Yeah. So I think we left off. He hopped a curb into the parking lot from the grass, and I was thinking, hey, we should really add this to our training because we've never done this. And thinking, well, let's see what happens. Good thing it's not my bike, since I borrowed the sheriff's bike to do it. And lo and behold, he got down okay, and me and the Sarge hopped over okay. I'm like, oh, okay, that was pretty easy. And then I was like, well, we should probably do it in reverse too. And the suspect made that decision for us because he decided to go try and hop the curb on the other side of the parking lot. And as you said, always hit it straight on, which he did not.
Yes.
Yeah, that perpendicular angle is key on a two-wheeled vehicle. So he hits it at 45, and which immediately turns his front wheel sideways, throws him off the bike. The scooter rolls about 3 times. He gets thrown about 15 or 20 feet away. And then I thought, well, I guess we're at a foot pursuit now. Now I don't have to see if I can hop the other curb. So me and the Sarge both just drop our bikes on their engine guards, hop off, and start running towards him. Well, he definitely was motivated. So he ran back to the bike to grab something, which I presumed was probably drugs. But he grabbed a stuff sack out of one of the ammo cans there, and I didn't see what it was, but I immediately started running after him and screaming for him to get on the ground a couple times, and I pulled my taser out because I hadn't seen what he grabbed, which we now know was the gun. And so I told him twice to get on the ground. The third time I said, hey, get on the ground, you're going to be tased. And as soon as I said that, I remember looking at the green dot on the laser for the taser and pulling the trigger. And if you ever heard a taser go off, it's a pretty loud pop.
Yep.
It's not a bang, but it's a good pop. And as soon as I heard that pop, I immediately heard the biggest frickin' explosion coming out of the end of the suspect's .44 Magnum. So I was about 5 feet away. Yeah, I knew I'd been shot. It went right through my right upper arm. And then as soon as he shot me, my sergeant put about 8 rounds downrange in about a second and a half, hitting the suspect 4 times. One of those was in the head. So in that second and a half, I remember thinking, oh, crap, we're in a gunfight. Like, this stupid electric weapon's not going to do me any good. So I need to get my gun out. And because of where the wound was, I couldn't position my arm to put it back in its holster. So I grabbed the taser with my left hand, got my gun out, and me and the sergeant got behind the biggest tree we could find, which was about 18 inches in circumference. So there's 2 of us trying to hide behind this thing and screaming at the suspect because he's on the ground twitching, and the gun's right next to him, to not move towards the gun and to crawl away from it so we get him some help. And so I immediately called for 2 ambulances and didn't tell anybody why. Now that I look back on it, that would have probably been a good idea. And so we're waiting for the cavalry to show up, and Sarge asked me, he's like, you okay? And I said, no, I'm hit. And he was like, what? And he didn't tell me right then, but later on he told me, he's like, I never heard the suspect shoot. He's like, I saw the gun, but I didn't know he shot, so I thought I shot you when you told me you got hit. And I'm like, oh, that's terrible, because because I'm his top producer on the unit, so I can imagine how bad a boss would feel. Like, wait a second, I just took out my number one guy. And so we're waiting there, and I can see the guys coming in, and I'm trying to direct them to where we're at because our motorcycle's on the ground, and we didn't know this at the time, but there's no kill switch for the siren. If it falls over, the engine goes out. So we had to call BMW about that, and they're like, okay, that's an easy fix. But so the sirens are screaming, and people are coming in, and finally one of our canine officers pulls in behind us, and he's got another cop riding with him. So that cop gets out, and all of a sudden we've got 3 guns up on the suspect, and I'm like, okay, you guys don't need me anymore. So I run back to the canine, and I pull my tourniquet out of my cargo pocket. And I lay it on. He's in the back of his pickup truck trying to get his long lead to get the dog. And he says, "What do you need?" I'm like, "I need a tourniquet." And he kind of looks at me a little crossways and starts walking away from me to go get one. I'm like, "No, Derek, I need you to put the tourniquet on me." And he's like, "What?" Because no one had any idea that I'd been shot except for me. And so he grabs the tourniquet, comes over. And he can't find the wound because we wear dark, navy blue uniforms, and so there was no blood stain or anything else. Even though there was so much blood in my sleeve because we had the waterproof shirt that looked like a water balloon under my elbow. But I said, just put it up as high as you can, and so he does. And I had no idea where the wound was either, but as high as you can, that's where the exit wound was. So I was hurting before, but once he started tightening down on that tourniquet, I'm like, oh, man, that hurts.
Deputy, did you ever figure out or find out where that guy got a .44 Magnum?
Well, they did track it to its last.
We lose
it? Lived out.
Say again. I'm sorry, we lost you for a second.
Yeah, they tracked the gun to its original owner, but he'd been deceased for, I don't know, 10 or 12 years, and I think he lived out east towards, like, Yuma. No idea where this guy picked it up.
With a caliber like that, I mean, I know you know better than I would ever know, but how lucky. My God, those things are hand cannons.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then, strange... part of that is Mark Miller put me in contact with some other cops that have been shot. And turns out it was probably even luckier for me that it was such a big round because it just went straight through. A couple guys I talked to got shot with shotguns and birdshot. One guy got shot by a 9mm. He still has the round in his arm. But he got shot in both arms, and you could see the wound channel because it's scarred over. It looked like a dolphin in the ocean just came up and down and traveled the full length of his arm. So in hindsight, you're like, well, thank God it was that big, and it just went straight through because it went through like a hot knife through butter. But anyway, so Derek cranks down, and this is a guy that's been in combat that he's probably put on dozens of tourniquets, and so he knows what he's doing. But he cranks it down hard, and I'm like, okay, all right. Well, then other people start rolling onto the scene, and the ambulance still isn't there yet, and we're like less than half a mile from the hospital. So I see one of our sergeants roll up. And he's part of a different special unit. He's in charge of the mental health people. So he's got a therapist with him. And I walk over to him. He's like, "Hey, Jason, what do you need?" I'm like, "Take me to the hospital." He's like, "Okay, get in." And so he opens the front door, and I'm like, "No, Robert, I don't want to bleed all over your cloth seat. Put me in the back where the vinyl is." He's like, "Oh, well, okay." So he's got to move some stuff, and we hop in, and he starts driving, and we're just kind of teetotaling down the bike path to get back to one of the main roads, and nobody's getting out of our way. And I'm like, "Hey, is your siren on?" And he just kind of looks at me and trying to process what's going on. And he's like, hold on a second. He grabs the radio mic and he tells dispatch, "Hey, I've got Tom 912. That's my radio number. We're en route to PVH." And I'm like, "Okay." He's done with that. We get onto Welch, which is the side road connected to the main road, and still nobody's moving for us. And I'd like, "Hey, Sarge, is your siren on?" and it's clear that he is focused on what he's doing. He's just not processing. He's like, I got to get him to the hospital. I got to get him to the hospital. And so just no cognition of what I said. And so the co-responder up front, her name's Izzy. And, she's about 28 years old. I look at her and I'm like, Izzy, do you know where the siren is? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, well, turn it to F on. Let's freaking go. Yeah. So she reaches the door, gets the lights of the sirens going, and now we can go. So we travel up to the hospital, and like I said, it's just half a mile away, so maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and pull into the ambulance entrance and run inside, and there's a duty nurse that checks you in, and that's where we go when we have DUIs and stuff. She's like, hey, how can I help you? And she's like, happened to be that way. She's like, hi, what can I do for you? And the sergeant's like, hey, we got a gunshot wound. And she looks at us with the biggest surprised face, and she's like, a gunshot wound? And then her boss is like, did you say gunshot wound? And I've got this tourniquet on my arm, right? I've got no vest on, no badge. And I point at it. I'm like, yes, I have a gunshot wound. Can we get a freaking room? And she goes, did you call ahead? I'm thinking, what is this, man? This Texas Roadhouse? No. I didn't have time. Can we get a room? And things start getting, she's like, oh, we need to get him into trouble. She's like, yeah, take him to 37. And I've been in this hospital, I don't know, hundreds of times with drunks and, other people we needed to get medically cleared. And I'm like, 37? I've never seen room 37 in my life. Where the heck is that? And so they cart me around and get in there. And then they start, taking my uniform off so they can look at the wound. And now I know I'm safe. So all the adrenaline just dumps out. And, I start sweating profusely. I can't get a line in because I'm just perspiring so much. And then they start giving me some drugs. They're like, hey, we're going to give you fentanyl. I'm like, that sounds awesome. Yeah, they're like, but we're going to give it to you in small doses so we don't overdo it. I'm like, okay. And so they start putting me full of, fentanyl, like, I don't know. I forget what the dosage was, but, just a unit at a time. And after 5 of these doses, they're like, how you feel it? How's your pain? And I'm like a 9.5. Do you have something stronger? Because I wasn't feeling anything. And they're like, oh, you still feel that? Yeah. So they're like, oh, we'll give you some Dilaudid. And if you've never had Dilaudid, it's like morphine, on Turo.
Synthetic heroin is what it is.
Yeah. So as soon as that came in, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So now I'm starting to process, and I've, we've got probably 12 or 15 people in, green scrubs surrounding me, and I'm starting to chill out a little bit. And I look up, and I'm like, hey, we're at Poudre Valley Hospital, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, hey, did you guys know this little physician's assistant? She's really petite, and for my right hip, I hear this little voice. And his head pokes around some other tall person next to her. She's like, yeah, it's Megan Jason. I'm right here. I'm like, oh, I stopped her twice last week.
That was the best.
I'm like, I'm so glad I gave you warnings. So we started laughing.
When you told that story, the woman in the room with you said, I'm so glad I didn't give you a ticket. And you had warned her. Now here you are laid up with a hole in you.
Right. And trusting her with my care. Like, God's got a plan. Yeah.
Man.
Karma comes around. And,
you know it.
Yeah. So it's like, that's exactly what I get.
I didn't ask you, Deputy, do you have a family that they had to notify? And how did they do that?
Yeah. Well, so, they took my uniform, and so I had no idea where my phone was. And of course, in this day and age, nobody remembers numbers. So, fortunately, there was a bunch of coworkers that had come in, and so I started putting them. I'm like, hey, I need you to call this. I need you to call my daughter. I need you to call my wife.
Sure.
And so the sergeant drove me in. Him and my wife Kim are friends. We've actually vacationed together in Costa Rica. And, so he's got her number, but she's at work, and she's, she doesn't answer her phone at work. She's got it on silent because she's an audiologist, and she's got patients. And so like, well, she's not answering. I'm like, no, she wouldn't. We'll need to send somebody down there because I don't don't want her driving, right? You don't want to hear, hey, your husband's been shucked into the hospital.
Yeah.
So we sent the day shift sergeant in to get her, and he goes into her office and talks to the front desk and says, hey, I need to talk to Dr. Hart, and it's an emergency. And so she's like, okay.
Oh my.
Yeah. So she walks back to the wife's office and she's like, hey, there's a cop here. He says it's an emergency.
Oh.
And not thinking, because after 27 years, she's heard a lot.
Sure.
A lot of our cops go to her.
Deputy, I'm just looking up, and I'm being told we're on another time break here.
Oh.
Hang on, because, if you would. The man's on hold. This is Larimer County Deputy Jason Hart. Got shot. It was a .44 Magnum shot him, and he told this story on the stage, and it brought the house down. So let me do another turnaround through here. It's a Saturday morning, October 4th. I'm Peter Boyles. This is 710 KNUS. It is Saturday, October the 4th. Mongo Jerry, 710 KNUS, 80 the high, 69 tomorrow. What a terrific guest. Larimer County Deputy Sheriff Jason Hart. And going into this, Deputy, we got about 8 more minutes left in the show in the hour. You're in the hospital. You've been shot. And how did they tell your wife again? That just must be frightening as hell. So how did they tell her you were there and shot?
Great. So we couldn't get a hold of her on her cell phone. And, I never called her work in my life because, just text a message or whatever. But so we ended up sending the day shift sergeant to go pick her up because obviously I didn't want her driving after getting the news. And so he's in there and tells him, has to talk to my wife, and it's an emergency. And so the game of telephone, the secretary goes back to her and says, "Hey, there's a cop here." He says he needs to talk to you. It's an emergency. Oh. And somewhere in that miscommunication, somebody said, "Is it a hearing aid emergency?" And that was what was conveyed to my wife, that it was a hearing aid emergency. She's like, "Okay, well, I'll be out in a couple of minutes. I've got to finish these chart notes." So she's in there, thinking this is just a run of whatever. And so she types up the notes, comes out, and she's like, "Hey, can I help you?" He's like, "Yeah, is there somewhere private we can talk?" And she's like, "Sure, come on back here." And so he tells her, "Hey, Jason's been shot. He's okay, but I need to take you to the hospital."
Oh my.
After 27 years and 10 years on SWAT, the amount of times I wasn't home and, had to send a cryptic text, "I'm okay, but, this is going to take a while." She's pretty seasoned for it. And so she doesn't react real bad. And she's like, "Okay, so let me grab a couple things." And so she gets in the car with him, and she's in Loveland, which is the town south of us. So they're probably 20 minutes from the hospital. And he's driving. He's trying to manage the street and deal with all the communications that he's getting, and she is scared to death because his driving is just atrocious. And what she told me that I asked her, I said, "Did you ask him, like, hey, is it okay if I drive?" Because he would have said no. And then I said, "Then you could have just said, well, would you please drive then? This is crazy." Like, we almost got 3 crashes. I had to remind him where the turn to the hospital was. And the whole way there, he's like, "You are remarkably calm for this." Wow. It's not my first rodeo, buddy.
Who told your daughter? Who told your daughter?
So our chaplain, a good guy, Rick, that has been with us. He's probably been with us for the last 15, 20 years. And we finally created a paid position for him. But he's there, and so he gets my daughter on the phone and gives the phone to me, and I tell her, I'm like, "Hey, honey, I got shot," and I'm like, "It hurt a lot." And now that I'm talking to her, it's starting to process. So my voice is starting to break, and he's like, calm down, take a breath." She's like, "Okay." I'm like, "I'll be fine, but, I think you probably want to come up here." She's like, "All right, we're on our way." And then we got, she called both of the boys. She's in the middle between them, and my youngest was down in Berthoud, and he's on his way up. And but then she called my oldest, who's stationed out in Baltimore in the Air Force. And he's like, "Okay." And so he called and got a hold of me. We finally found my phone, and he's like, "Hey, what?" I'm like, "I'm okay." I'm like, "But this is great. You can come in and see me. Like, this is emergency leave. We know how this works, right? You don't have to, the Red Cross will pay for your trip. You don't have to charge any of your regular leave." And he's like, "Yeah, I can't come." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "No, I am like in the last week of this leadership class that I need for promotion. That if I leave now, they won't let you take the class again for 9 months." Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh man." Yeah. So I tell him, that's okay. I understand. I don't need it. I have plenty of support here. I was just thinking it'd be a great, we get to spend some time together for free." And he's like, "Yeah, I wish I could." I'm like, "No, it's not a big deal." It wasn't a big deal to me, but it was a huge deal to the system.
To me, to me, the story is what police officers and their families deal with. And you got capped, and you're incredibly lucky. That caliber of a handgun and this lunatic man. I've looked now at his pictures, and you make jest of it, and I get that because we call it black humor.
Dark humor. Let's go with dark humor.
Well, I mean, the Irish carry it with us. You make a joke at a funeral, but man, I mean, you came within an inch, and
yeah,
I mean, you really is that. By the way, whatever happened to the guy that shot you?
Well, so like I said, Sarge shot 4 times. So he had about a 50% hit rate, which is above average in law enforcement. Once in the head, and so we thought he was done, but that's not how bad guy luck works. And for the longest time, he couldn't walk or talk.
Now he's a word. Yeah,
he had to be fed. Yeah, and then he started getting some of that back. And of course, being the easy lunatic bad guy that he is, he got his ability to talk back. He was in the rehab hospital, and he just started calling everybody in for the N-word. And so they had to call the police. And when the police came, he still had the 2 words that he had for his arrest when I started contacting. And so they of course took him into jail, and I got notified, and then the investigating agency, which is a critical incident like this, was not us. We have a critical incident team. The police was the investigating agency. So,
Deputy, where is he now? He's incarcerated.
Yeah, he's in the jail. They had a competency hearing that was ordered by the, and they had the team from the state hospital came up and found him incompetent, but
there you go. So
now they're designing a therapy program for him to get him be competent so he can stand trial.
Yeah. You count on that, right? Yeah.
I don't know if I do. I mean, the guy's crazy.
Yeah.
His family disowned him, 20 years ago when he ran over, a nephew, I think, when he was intoxicated, and So
he's
not going to do this again. Have
you ever had the urge to go in the cell and talk to him?
No.
Yeah.
Now, after this many years and dealing with people with that kind of
and you came back.
Issue.
You were back on a job in I think 3 months is what I was told.
Yeah. Yep. 3 months. I had to get a wound vac because I had a hole big enough in my arm that the surgeon stick her 2 index fingers on the end and touch in the middle.
Man,
that was pretty interesting.
So we're on the button, but what's the great? I mean, I don't know if there's a lesson. This is what happens with police officers. So
I think. And this is something I had to learn when I was a young police officer. It's something we try to teach the new ones. It's a different kind of world that we deal in, where you meet normal people at church or on the pickleball court or at the grocery, and you expect them to be like you and be good, not want to cause you harm. But the thing we have to teach the new guys is you can't start that. Any contact we have, we tell them expect that everybody's going to lie to you. And expect that everybody wants to hurt you.
Oh my!
Like that, you go in with that,
and
then you're not surprised. Right? You can go down from this is a mom in a minivan with 3 screaming kids. She's not going to hurt me.
No.
Right. But I have to go up there expecting to see a gun every time I make a traffic stop.
Because we got 30 seconds. Promise me you and I'll go ride. I mean, I would love to ride with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know how to find you now, and you know how to find me, and we have a lot of mutual friends. We can mark out, and we'll chase them around a little bit, maybe ride to lunch. I think that'd be just
right. We'll call it a training opportunity.
Thank you very much. For me, not for you guys, but for me. This is Larimer County Deputy Jason Hart, and you hung the moon, man, and that was amazing, and what an experience, and I'm so pleased that you came on a radio show. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Be safe, brother, man. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we go back to open lines in the final hour of the show. It's a Saturday. Hang on, everybody. afternoon, everyone. 710 KNUS on a Saturday, October 4th. I'm Peter Boyles. The weather, and I'm getting all kinds of different messages on the weather because I got my sickle outside. Saturday says 80 will be a high, and we'll see maybe rain, maybe wind. 46 tonight, 69 tomorrow. Monday, 65 degrees. 303-696-1971. We started the show this morning talking about Payola, Pluggle in the radio business, and switched over to how do you feel in terms of safety, and doing some reading, getting ready to do the radio show. And the Gallup polling from a year ago, 40% of us are afraid to walk alone at night near our homes. And it took off on other places and other areas, including the current safety depends on, again, locations and what you're doing. And then we talked about CCWs, and then we talked about crime, and then we talked about the U.S. striking another boat off the Venezuelan coast that is the fourth of the strikes on what is being said are narco boats, and they're being sunk with all hands. So that is part of what we're doing, and it's open line, so you can speak about the last guest if you wish. 303-696-1971. It's whatever you want to do. Lines are wide open. And I will tell you about David Ellis, and then we'll go to the phones. You heard me talking about taking your valuables to David Ellis to get a fortune in cash. And secure an appraisal from David. He's there right now for all of those valuables that you have tucked away in your home. It's still true. Share the other reasons to see David, just in case you don't have a Rolex watch, all these rare coins, or a silver tea set. See David for all the most meaningful gift-giving occasions. And again, holiday gift-giving season is not that far away. Here we are into October. Go see David for everything that you need, meaningful gifts. And David's Jewelers, the guys who are there, are just right items, just the right prices, special people that mean the most. An antique watch, an emerald pendant, a gold necklace, or a diamond ring. This trusted jeweler has been buying precious metals and antiques in Colorado for decades. He is my friend. Dazzling cases filled with hundreds of new and used pieces that your loved ones will treasure. Visit David Ellis Jewelers and see for yourself. Look for the black awning on the corner, 3rd and Clayton and Cherry Creek. Explore David Ellis Jewelry today, davidellisjewelry.com, or call my friend David at 303-322-8779, 303-322-8779, and tell David Ellis Peter Boyle sent you. All right, here we go. We go to Tim in Littleton. You're first out of the box. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you.
Hey, Pete. Good afternoon. Thank you, buddy. Great show as usual. My comment is regarding the drug boat issue for those folks that have opinions about it. I am. You can hear me?
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Of course I can. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm retired U.S. Coast Guard, 30 years active duty. I've been in the Southern Hemisphere, what they call the claw between Haiti and Cuba. In June 15th, 1998, I reported to the United States Coast Guard Cutter Campbell. I was on there for 4 years. Our primary mission, besides northern fisheries, was southern drug interdiction. Pete, these people don't care. No. They don't care that material is going to kill your grandchild, my grandchild, or anyone's son, daughter, or grandchild. They don't care. These governments, most of them, not all, but a large majority, know exactly what they're doing, are complicit with them, and share the profits. It is an unrelenting industry.
Excuse me if I could, but when we talk about history only having X amount of themes, it sounds like the government of Great Britain and the government of the United States, when they were running opium into China, they were part of it. They didn't care. They saw the Chinese as less than human. They could sell them all the opium that they could. And, I mean, it is precisely the other side of the same coin. And so once you understand that, then you have an opportunity. And again, the Chinese attempted, it was called the Opium Wars, the Chinese attempted to stop all of this, and of course the Boxer Rebellion and everything that goes with it. But now, so when Donald Trump is sending the United States making strikes on these Venezuelan boats, what do you do with that? You there?
In my opinion, real on a side note, there's a movie called The Sand Pebbles.
Absolutely.
With Steve McQueen.
I read the book. I know the book. Yeah.
Classic movie. What do you do with you stop them? You let them know no more. Here's the line in the sand. You won't cross it.
We
have an unquenchable appetite in this country for these illicit drugs.
Yeah, but to put things in perspective, that's one of my favorite books, and it's a great film, and I'm a huge Steve McQueen fan. But that happens after. They've overthrown. I think the last dynasty is the Manchus. The Manchus are overthrown, and the rise. Remember, he calls it the gear wheel. It's the Kuomintang. It's Chiang's government. They're nationalists. They do not want the Americans there. They don't want the Japanese. They don't want the British. They don't want the French. They don't want anybody there. And they've treated China that way. And again, this lessons of history, what that makes history so important to read, is exactly the same thing. And they had things they were called fire boats and fire junks, and they'd run these things out, and they're on fire, and they'd smash them into the sides of the boats. I mean, what's the difference? The difference is simply technology. Go ahead.
I would counter with this is a proactive stance. I think this is something the United States should have been doing decades ago. If we don't do something, it will continue.
Absolutely. No, look at the end of China. I mean, look, we collectively, and the drugs came from the same places they come today. They come out of Afghanistan. They came out of, principally out of Afghanistan, but out of India, and they tripped around the Horn, and they took them right up to modern Hong Kong, Kowloon, there's Macau, and they transferred the drugs to the China, and oftentimes the Chinese would swap tea for opium or gold. They just destroyed opium, destroyed China, and I agree. Drugs are going to destroy this country. So when you watch something like the U.S. striking another boat off the Venezuelan coast, how do you feel about it?
I think it's the right thing to do. Swap drugs with people, bringing in people, the transiting of human beings, which is also the last 4 or 5 years has quadrupled because of the availability for entry. But in the mid-'90s, when Clinton was president, and there was a policy called foot wet, foot dry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
A migrant could make it to the beach if they could physically, and even if they were wading in the water, and if we apprehended them, they're probably going back. But if they made it to dry land, they could stay and ask for.
That was only held for Cubans, and wet foot, dry foot was. There was somebody else too that was okay.
It certainly wasn't. It wasn't the Haitians, because the Haitians went back.
No, no, you're right. This was before the quake.
There was never a policy.
Yeah.
and they did not. Whenever we picked up Haitians and Cubans, we had to have armed guards separate them because they did not like each other.
Oh.
We'd have one party on the flight deck. We'd have one party up forward.
Yeah, but there were people that didn't get the wet foot, dry foot treatment. That began before Bill Clinton, I think. If you could get a dry foot, and a lot of that stuff when people fled, when Fidel Castro, when they overthrow Batista, and the Cubans begin to flee, but from reading because they said, oh, look at these Cubans. They came to America, the land of opportunity. They did great. All things aside, the Cubans, the wealthy Cubans, the white Cubans, the Desi Arnaz Cubans, they always banked in Miami. They kept their money. They kept their money in Florida. So when they were thrown out by the Fidelistas, as they call them, the Castros, they ran to their money. And the other people, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's such a convoluted, horrible. I was in Haiti right after the quake. Kenny Danon and I went and did our radio show in Port-au-Prince, and I've never seen anything quite like it in my life. And probably
did you buy a piece of carved wood? Did you buy a carving?
No, I got these. This is a true story. We stayed at lived on the rooftop of an orphanage in Port-au-Prince, and
sure.
And they had these. We called them crucifixes as kids, and now they're called crosses. But these young Haitian kids, they got 55-gallon drums, and I have 2 of them in my home. I have them on the walls, and they pounded them out.
Sure.
And they made crosses with. They were religious, or they made, different things. And I had this idea that these could easily be sold in religious stores in the United States of America. And what would have stopped it was the gangs. The gangs ran everything when we were there. And I'm telling you, if you
for the listeners that don't know, often the Haitians will and it's really beautiful carved pieces. It could be a wall stick, it could be a vase, it could be anything in wood you can make, and it's really intricate and it's polished and it's really beautiful stuff. And they'll bring it out to your ship or to your vehicle. So, it's $5. No, I'll give you 3. Okay, no, 2. Okay, $2.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I mean, but it really, I had a couple of pieces.
Listen, I never, because I'd never seen anything quite like. I've been in some pretty messed up places, but I never saw anything like Port-au-Prince.
No,
after that quake, and I don't even. There were stories you don't even want to tell on the air, but Kenny and I, and. We were able to do the radio show. We could get a shot up out of there, but the gangs, like the gas stations, there was no gas, but the orphanage had a van, and it was all beat up, but it was their van, and you couldn't go to the Texaco or whatever the gas stations were, but you could go to the gas stations that the gangs ran, and that you could buy gasoline at some exorbitant amount of money vis-a-vis what I mean. We paid for gas for the orphanage, and we went up in the mountains with those guys and everything, and this artwork, and I went up to meet where these kids were making this stuff. They were young men making it, and I'd said to the guy running the orphanage, I said, wow, you could really do well. I have 2 of them at my house, and I gave 2 away. And I said, you could make money. And he said, we can't. And I said, why not? He said, because they have to go off the docks. And once you take it that far, then it's the gangs. And they would take it from them. And, I mean, I saw stuff that, like you said, and so those were the guys, and they still don't let the Haitians in because, I mean, the Haitians are here, but they're not wet foot, dry foot. I think that went to the Cubans first of all. Then somebody else was in it. Somebody else got that.
The Dominicans were allowed to do it.
Maybe you're right. Maybe that was it. But
it's the same island, and they hated them too.
Yes, it is. It's the same island. Were you in when the Mario boat lift happened?
No, that was way before my time. I came in '87, and I retired.
Because the stories.
A lot of those things, and I really believe that our our government, for good or bad, has used that. What's the right word? That knowledge of the drugs coming in to kind of manipulate. There's stuff we could have done years ago, chose not to. And that's just my own conspiracy.
No, they would tell us. Now I don't know how much of this is true or false, but one of the principal exports. Now this is a story I heard there. Was cadavers for medical schools.
Yes.
Who would make that up? But we would move, and I became close friends with one of the guys that worked in the orphanage, and he himself had been an orphan. And if we were to walk, you had to pay. And if we're gonna walk from here down 2 blocks, when you got down the end of 2 blocks, there's a guy, and you got to pay him money. I think we paid him $1 or $2 or something, and then he would walk you for 2 blocks. And if you wanted to go past that, you paid the next guy, and then he would walk you, and you did it coming back. And that's a true story. And they would find guys. They would find, and when I was there, it was the Pakistani. They were sent in by the UN in blue helmets. They were the Pakistani army, and I got to call Kenny and ask him, but I think it was like the Taiwanese army, the Chinese army, Taiwanese, and they were corrupt. And I thought those people never had a chance, just never had a chance. I mean, and then there was. It had been a sex capital, so there was all kinds of VD, not VD. There was AIDS, and they're beautiful people. I mean, they really are. And you're right about the Dominicans. Man, you go up to the fence. When people try to tell you that barriers or borders, enforced borders don't work, take them there. They take them there. They don't screw around. And it was just a great, and it still is just apparently as sad as it was when I was there. The rumor was that Baby Doc Duvalier was coming back, and the time of Papa Doc must have been horrible, but Baby Doc was coming back, and there was the mansion that Papa Doc had built, and there was this again. The rumor was that Papa Doc had buried all the gold and on the lawn. And people climbed the fence and they dug up the entire, it must have been 15, 20 acres. They dug the whole thing up looking for the gold, Tim. And of course there wasn't any, but that was.
There never is.
No, it was, but what a sad and beautiful place. I thought Haiti was beautiful. And I love your call. That triggered one for me, but I haven't thought of that in such a long time.
Wow.
Thanks, man. You be safe. Thank you, brother. All right, man.
Appreciate what you told, man.
Talk to you. Bye. It was me. We were working at K-How doing the morning show, and we asked permission to go, and we got it and went to Haiti. 80 the high. You stay right here. Good afternoon, everybody.
Your Denver forecast here on KNUS this Saturday afternoon. Sunny and breezy with a slight chance for an afternoon shower. Temperatures topping out in the low 80s. Gusty winds up to 35 miles per hour. Tonight, breezy with temperatures dropping into the mid-40s. Quite a bit cooler for Sunday. Highs near 70. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
This is Saturday, the 4th morning of October, 710 KNUS, 303-696-1971 with full lines. Go back to the phones. This is Kevin in Aurora. You waited, thank you, and you're on the show.
Hey, Peter. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, my pleasure.
I've been listening to you for forever.
You're the man.
And living in,
You're the man.
Well, started listening to you with the back in the days of the Bonet.
Oh, sure, I'm sure.
Murder, and listen to you throughout the years.
Thank you.
Agree with you on some things, disagree on a lot.
Me too. Me too. I agree with me sometimes and I disagree with me sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking my call. I've been listening this morning, and I just what I've heard, and I listen to you almost every Saturday morning.
Thank you.
A little.
Thank you.
Little disturbing about some of the things that I've been hearing. There was a conversation around drugs, right, and the drug addicts and cutting off hands and killing opium.
No, listen to me. That was in the Saudi Arabians. That wasn't me.
Right.
That was.
Yeah, I know.
A book entitled "Conversations with the Prince," just so the folks who didn't hear it, and it wasn't about drug addicts. What it was about was criminals. We were talking about crime, and the prince, who I'm sure was manufactured, and he said, "You call us barbarians," and he said, "Because we cut the hands off of thieves." He said, "Yet every day in your country, hundreds and hundreds of elderly," and he said women, "are beaten to the ground, their purses are stolen from them, and they're the people who the thieves run. And if they are arrested, then they're let go to do it again. I ask you," says the prince, "which of us is the barbarian?"
Yeah, I know. And I thanks for clarifying that.
Oh, please.
That is what you said earlier. But it made me think that the reason we don't do that is because we are America. And this is supposed to be the home of the brave and the land of the free. And so, we have to be a little...
Just to be argumentative, what's brave? What's brave about beating up an old lady and stealing her purse only to be released?
There's nothing brave about that, but we do have laws.
I understand.
And I think for the most part that they protect people, and we have a way of doing that. It's not necessarily, of course, I feel for the victim, but, we have laws, and we,
let me ask
we
you,
do
let me ask you the
them.
Maoist approach. Let's suppose, just for a second, that for the next 2 years, anybody that mugs anybody over the age of 60, they do get their hand cut off. How much longer do you think people would be mugging elderly people?
It probably would stop.
Thank you.
So you think we should do that?
No, I'm asking, this is a hypothetical question.
Okay.
And we're playing talk radio. I mean, if we did that, what do you think would happen? Go ahead. I'm sorry. This guy who shot Charlie Kirk, if he had done that in Colorado, he would not be facing the death penalty. He did it in Utah. He will probably face the firing squad in Utah. Right or wrong?
Yes.
Right or wrong?
Yes. I understand. I mean, they're different states. Actually, it's interesting you should say that. I was in Utah. I lived there when Gary Gilmore was.
Let's do it. Gary Gilmore.
Killed.
The Executioner's song. Yeah.
Right. So I understand, but as far as cutting people's hands off, I think there are other ways of going about, correcting, dealing with crime like that. There's a better way. I used to think that's what America was about, finding a better way of doing things and dealing with people.
So you got somebody the guy's mugged 10 or 12 old ladies.
Yeah.
What do you think he's going to find, or she's going to find, a better way? Because I
think.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, Peter, I don't have the total answer to that, but I do believe in rehabilitation, and I feel like our prison system is not about rehabilitation. It's about being punitive.
Well, what's it supposed to be? I mean, if somebody, God forbid, murders your family, I mean, do you want them just to go and everybody be nice to them and they'll be nice people?
No.
What do you want? I mean,
I want them to get a life sentence. I don't believe in capital punishment. I want them to get a life sentence. I want them to pay for that. Certain crimes, you're probably not going to rehabilitate people. So that's understandable. But, you find some kid that's 14, that may be hungry in D.C. and snatches a purse and knocks a lady over. There may be some chance for him. There should be a chance for him to kind of redeem himself from
fair
that.
Enough. That's fair enough.
Under Trump, he wants to change that. He's changing that law. He's going to treat him like, try him as an adult. So
where did you read that? Because I haven't read that he wants to try 14-year-olds as adults. And I'm not defending Trump.
Oh.
Just tell me where I could read that.
I don't have the actual document, but it's been all over the news. But I can get it for you, Peter. It's out there.
Okay, I believe you, but it's first to me.
Okay.
But
yeah, well, Brian. I think Brian Donaldson was the one that brought that bill forth. Because
what crimes? Maybe Adam, could you jump in? What crimes will Donald Trump try 14-year-olds for?
I don't have that right now, but I did see on August 5th of 2025, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, the law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults, lock them up for a long time, starting at age 14.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks. Go ahead, sir. You're on the money.
Yeah, I'm totally against that because there's a reason why we try adults as adults and children as children.
Right. The question. You're a terrific caller, by the way. The question I brought to work this morning was personal safety fears in the country, and
right.
A Gallup poll from last year: 40% of American people, and it doesn't say any demographics, are afraid to walk alone at night near their homes.
Yeah.
40. I mean, I got to believe it's an accurate number, and they worry about being victimized in specific crimes, the fear of crime. And so, how do we win? How does the country come out?
I think one thing we need to do is look at how and I do believe that number. That's not me. I feel okay walking through my neighborhood, and I don't need a gun in my pocket like the earlier caller was talking about to make me feel good. I'm pretty confident in who I am and it, defending myself without that. But
what if you weren't? I take it you're a big guy.
No, I'm not.
Do you know how to putt?
I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'7", 215.
Do you know how to fight? It sounds like. I
have fought.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, listen. No. I think there's a major difference, and people that. This is one of the things I try and say to folks: people that can take care of themselves physically are much better off in life. They really are. And I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. And one thing.
Yeah.
We had a fighter in here last Saturday with us and his coach, and he's not turning his head someplace. He's straight ahead. Try him.
Yeah.
You'll be really sorry you did. You were really sorry you did. But
right.
But what about a senior citizen or a woman or any of that stuff?
Peter, I don't, I've been listening to your other callers, and I don't think there's that as much. The crime level is where, other people think. I think a lot of it is perception, and of course that's real to them.
Sure,
but,
it is.
I don't feel like there's as much crime as people say, and I believe, and I don't have the article or the data where I found it, but crime is coming down since the pandemic, and so in this country. But you talk about people being afraid to walk around their house, not far from their homes. I do believe that's true, and I really think the part of it is in the 10 years of Donald Trump berate immigrants and others ever since he came down that escalator, and I think he stoked a lot of fear, and I think that has a lot to do with it.
What are you most afraid of? I love your call, by the way. What are you most afraid of in terms of you pick?
Oh, Peter.
No, seriously.
You know what I'm most afraid of today is democracy falling.
But we're a republic. This is not a democracy. When I hear people say that on radio, I go, come on.
Yeah.
This is a republic.
Yeah, no, it's a democratic republic.
Yeah.
So the republic.
It can easily fail. I mean, I say it all the time on the show. There's every empire fails. We have become empire, and history again teaches us that you can be on the right and wrong side of history, but it's a true statement.
So let me explain my fear. Just the other day when Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth addressed those generals, Donald Trump spoke about using the military as using cities like Chicago and San Francisco as training grounds for the military. I thought that was a disgusting thing to say, and it happened. Not necessarily soldiers or the National Guard, but ICE, just in Chicago, they invaded people's homes, an apartment building, to try to get 6 gang members out of there, helicopters, and all of this. And so I think we've got military in D.C., and military still in L.A. and Memphis, and so I'm afraid that he's trying to turn this into a military state.
Do you think one of the questions I was going to bring up this morning? Have you seen the Trump 2028 hats and shirts?
I have.
What do you do with that?
I have.
What do you do with that?
What do I do with that?
Yeah.
I think this dude is not interested in leaving the office. I think that one of the purposes for having military out there in these cities is to intimidate voters in the 2026 election. And then, as long as there's one party in charge in 2026, he can go ahead and do what he wants to do in 2028. I think you probably say that sounds far-fetched, but I think it could be a reality.
Well, I was on the receiving end of the people who told the lies that Donald Trump had won.
Right, and I've heard that.
Yeah, I mean, when I tell you on the receiving end, I was on the receiving end. And,
I know.
And I mean, if we ever sit down, just me and you, I'll tell you. And
yeah.
And I got, well, you can see the results of that. And how many? And this radio station just paid off.
Right.
Significant money. You and I could walk on that money. And for what was done on this radio station by people who are no longer working here, but it happened.
Yeah.
And I heard it all. I had some hot minutes, and they went ahead and did it anyhow.
Right.
And it cost them. but it didn't. Yeah. One of them's still working. It's like unbelievable. It's despicable, but
yeah. Well, Peter, I'm glad. Although that happened, I'm glad that you still are on the air because you do provide some balance out there and a little bit of sanity and common sense.
Well, that's kind.
It's really needed today.
Well, the last 5 years have really been trippy, and because people that lied, that worked in this room and told lies and knew that they were, I don't know if they were even smart enough to know, but they were backed up by other people to allow them to do that. And now the price is being paid. And one of the clowns is now still working in radio. So you tell me.
Yeah, I know. These are some really...
Oh, they're despicable humans. They really are. What they did, the damage they did. I got to pull the pin. We'll meet someday. Thanks, Kevin. All right, man. Hang on, everyone. 710 KNUS. Afternoon, everybody. It's a great tune. This is when George Jones walks on. Huh? Oh, good pick. Putting peanuts in my Coke and I pray. Rock and roll and rhythm and blah. This is for the late Bob Lee. Country. When George walks on, man, can you skip to the end and go, hey, does that George Jones voice? Wow. Jones. George Jones, one of my true favorites. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles, and almost good afternoon. See you next week. Dan Kaplis' law firm. Danny suggests, and he is right on the money, you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you and everybody involved in the case. And Danny, the son of a police officer, we've talked about so many different things, former seminarian, a good man, just a really, really good man. He's been a friend for a long time. Danny believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado car crash and truck crash cases, believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. And he's just I'm telling you, he's a really, really decent, fine man. Dan Kaplis' Law, the official law partner now of the Nuggets and the Avalanche, and serious firm for serious cases. Danny accepts the righteous injury cases on percentage fee basis. So he represents good people from all walks of life without regard and ability to pay. So when you need Dan's help, you call 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit Dan Kaplis, he spells his last name, C-A-P-L-I-S, kaplislaw.com. We go to Tracy. Tracy, you're on the radio show. Good afternoon.
Peter, I wanted to ask you if there's okay.
Not this guy. No, that's an every week occurrence. No thanks. This is Tony in Littleton. You're on the radio show. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Peter.
Hey, man.
I wanted to say, I'm not your typical listener to 710. And one morning back in 2020, probably December, I came across your show and heard you taking the position that, hey, this election wasn't stolen. This is all, this was a legitimate election. And I was just flabbergasted that somebody on this network was actually taking that position. So I've kind of tuned in, beyond, you've left the show, then George, and, now Jeff, and I've stayed with it. And it's kind of an academic exercise for me, trying to understand, how did we get here? How did we get to this place where some 40 or 50 million people claim to believe that the election...
No, they claimed they had evidence.
Yeah, they did. They did, and they did make that claim, and of course they didn't. But I'm talking about the general public, the people who are listening to you right now and listening to 710 hosts across the day. They will say they believe the election was stolen.
No, they said they had the pillow guy. I mean, all these different, and they so wanted to believe. Maybe that's the answer.
And I think that's kind of what I've come to. They want, not only do they want to believe, now they have to believe. And I've come to this place that Donald Trump is in a spot that he's trying to rewrite history, that the colleges will have professors that will say that the election was stolen.
It's too late now, because although he still says it, and the people who said it on radio shows, and particularly in this market,
and still say it.
Well, I got to tell you something. Last week, at the beginning of this week, here on this radio station, 4 people lost their jobs. 4 decent, kind, very talented people, because of the fines that had to be paid here because of the lies that were told by people who literally walked away unscathed. And these 4 people were amongst many, and it's an indirect or direct cause effect. And I mean, what happened, and happened to me, and when my family was threatened, and the people who did it, and the lies that were told, and it wasn't a question of saying, the Nuggets are going to win the NBA championship, or the Rockies are going to win the World Series. These people lied on people's lives, and they walked away. And one of them is working at right now. And I don't want anybody to lose their jobs. It isn't that, but they wanted me because of the truth. And now, beginning with Fox News paying, and OEN paying, Newsmax paying, Salem paid, and they're going to pay again because Smartmatic's coming after them.
Right.
And
right.
No, I crazy stuff.
Well, Peter, I see this thing as this was a turning point for the country. I remember when that happened, and the next day, maybe the same day, the Republican Party leadership all stood up and said, this has gone way too far. He needs to be held to account. No. And everybody was on board, the Republican leadership. And then when they realized that the MAGA base didn't care, they backed off. They backed off, and they left the congresswoman from Wyoming to take the position. She just said, wrong is wrong, and this is still wrong. This should not have happened.
Well, it was a great lesson. It was, it would take hours and hours and hours of what happened. And just here in this radio station. And there's still 2 more trials to come. But I don't even know what happened, but I do know what happened internally here. And what
you didn't have any hosts fired, did you? I mean, if you maybe you did.
No, they walked. They walked. They walked.
They're still take the position that the election was stolen.
I have no idea. Their words spoke for themselves, but they hurt other people, and that makes the difference.
Well, and Peter, and this is a conversation I know we can't finish. I want to finish. I want to have a conversation. I'm listening because of you.
Well,
I've tried to study how we got here, and kind of where I'm at. I'll lay it out quickly, and we'll have a conversation maybe on another Saturday.
Promise.
But the crime, there was a crime committed on January 6th, and because we have a president who convinced some vast number of people that there was no crime, then the next crime was to pardon all those people, including the ones that beat the officers. Then the next crime was to fire all the FBI and Justice Department people who were involved in prosecuting those people.
I don't know how much time we have, but we have a minute. The mover and shaker was a guy named John Eastman. And Eastman was the one that they said was going to straighten me out. And I said, of course, I really want to hear the truth. And I had Eastman on the show by phone. And he was a setup. I got set up through that. And he said that he had these signed affidavits. And I said, Professor, I'll sign you an affidavit that I saw Bigfoot in my driveway this morning. And he said something pretty nasty, and that was it. And then the next day, like Ebsen's play, The Enemy of the State. And we all went to school, and I knew, it didn't matter. IDM, it don't matter. I got to pull the pin. Thanks.
Thank you. Listen, I'm going to call you again, and I want to have an in-depth conversation.
You got it.
It's Tony, okay?
Okay, man, you got it, bro. Thanks.
You, Peter.
All right, everybody. Well, a lot of things came out. You go, it's all true. To Chris Carroll and 3 other people that lost their jobs this week, I'm very sorry, brothers. I'll see you next week. Actually, I'm going to do Jeff and Bill Thursday and Friday next week.